Welcome for another special day inside the Country Financial Studio. I'm Joey Mack. It is our National Signing Day special brought to you by McDonald's, the official breakfast of the Ducks. Buy one, get one for $1 right now along all your locally owned McDonald's because, well, that's what we did for breakfast today, everybody. Buy one, get one for $1 around the entire state of Oregon and beyond. And we're literally looking forward to introducing you to a number of different Oregon football coaches. Many of them, it'll be the first time that you all as fans hear from them. And I know that Twitter Spaces have revolutionized this fan base. It's done so much for interacting amongst fans. I personally love it. And I want you to know that we're going to do our best over the course of this broadcast, over the course of the entire celebration of signing day, to interact with all of you fans. I'll do my best to keep up with the Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube comments and questions. We've got a full schedule available for you to view in the description of what's going on the Oregon Football Facebook and the Go Ducks YouTube. If you're tuning in on Twitter, then you're going to be with us for all of these different platforms. So we've got the full schedule. We lead off with associate head coach and offensive line coach Adrian Klemm. He's going to come into the studio and join us. For many of these men, it's the first time that I've had the chance to meet him. So the hot seat begins with Coach Klemm. So, first, I just got to say the headset there, Coach, you'll find it to your left, and then we're ready to rock and roll. We're going to talk about all the different signees. We're also going to talk about the path for many of these guys to Oregon. Coach, great to meet you.
Nice to meet you as
How
well.
are you? Joey Mack, so you've been in Eugene, Oregon now for how many days total?
A little less than a month.
Man, so are you settled in? You feel like you've hit the ground yet?
Somewhat. I've been here for almost a month, but I've only physically been here for about 6 days.
So that's what I was curious about. Like, you guys have been out recruiting. You guys have been settling in. And before we get to all of that, one thing that I love to do every time I have somebody on the show for the first time, what's your 2-minute life story? Like, tell us how you got here. Introduce yourself to the fans a little bit.
Well, I grew up in Los Angeles, born and raised. My mom and dad are from Belize, first generation. Went to University of Hawaii. Started all 4 years offensive line. Went to the New England Patriots. I was drafted there. 2000 draft, same draft as Tom Brady, which is remarkable. He's just now returned.
Just retired.
Yeah, so I stayed there. I was there my first 5 years in the league. Won 3 Super Bowls. Went to Green Bay Packers for 2. Retired in Oakland. Was retired for a couple years. And then realized everybody else my age was working. I got bored real fast, and was fortunate enough to get into coaching and find my passion. I was at SMU for 4 years, recruiting coordinator, offensive line. Went to UCLA as the same role I am now, associate head coach, run game coordinator, O-line. And then went to Pittsburgh Steelers the last 3 years as offensive line coach, and here I am.
So I want to ask you a little bit about your NFL experience, Coach. Just how much did that shape the way that you go about coaching at the college level now that you're back in these ranks?
Well, I coach you guys the way I'd like to be a coach. So I never make it personal, but I'm demanding. I have certain expectations. I try to pursue guys and sign guys that have the same goals as I did, that have greater aspirations than just to be all conference. Guys that are mature or that have the capability to become mature.
Sure.
The type of guys that we want here on campus, as well as, good athletes. So just looking for the total package.
Yeah. This is a good time for everybody, for me to remind you that GoDucks.com/signing day has everything that you need to know about the guys who have their letters of intent in, have been signed. I know. I see all the same reports that you all do, that social media runs rampant, Coach, as you know, that, there's a lot of scheduled times of announcements, those sorts of things. Just know that throughout the course of the day, the Oregon football social media will have those announcements for you at the right time. But I just want to remind everybody that I don't want to get an angry email from compliance and get any coaches in trouble because, well, you have to live and breathe that over the recruiting trail, don't you?
Yeah, no doubt, yes.
So we'll have just some more updates for you. But first, Coach, I do want to talk about some of the recruits. Michael Wooten is a guy that immediately comes to mind. Already in, already signed. Just tell us what you saw with Michael Wooten and a 6'6", 290-pound freshman out of California.
Hey, he's a guy that's on the rise. He has a lot of ability. He's gotten better. Obviously, I watched his film when I first got here, and just his progression from last year to this year has been pretty remarkable, and I think he's on the upward trend. I'm just excited to get my hands on him.
What do you see in your position group that you've inherited, Coach? Tell us about the current roster.
They did a really good job of developing the culture in that room. The guys, we went to a group dinner last night, offensive line dinner, and just they're all really close, and it's a competitive group, but at the same time, they're a close group. And sometimes when you're fighting for the same cause and you're working together in that manner, you don't have to worry about all the little pettiness that some groups may have. I mean, it has a great effect on the group as a whole.
That's really interesting because you guys, everybody says, right, you got to win in the trenches to win a football game. But you guys aren't the ones that get the accolades and the statistics and all these things. I mean, just there's a certain mentality to an offensive line.
Yeah, you're overworked and underappreciated, right? You make the engine go, but nobody talks about it unless you do something wrong. So you play 70 snaps and you mess up one, and everybody's talking about how bad of a game you played. And it's just one of those things you just have to be mentally tough and just have some intestinal fortitude, and you just get after it week after week. You know?
Mentally tough. I'm curious about that. I mean, how do you go about coaching that? What's your philosophy?
You develop it. You create a culture in a room where there's a sense of urgency, and just create a competitive environment. And either guys, it could develop guys and it could sharpen it, but they have to inherently have something in them that's a driving force and have a competitive spirit.
Sure.
You know.
So your time in the Pac-12, you're familiar, right? You're familiar with this league. What do you make of the Pac-12 now as you return to these ranks?
Just obviously Oregon's had some great success over the course of the last few years, and just want to take it to the next level. You know, get over that last hurdle, and just just want to play a different style of football in terms of my room. You know, I want to have a big physical group, and one that can impose their will week in and week out.
Back to you for a moment, Coach. Tell us why Oregon mattered to you. Why'd you come here? What was it about this place?
Well, I'm a West Coast guy, but in addition to it, just I love having an impact on players day to day. You know, NFL, sometimes you feel like we don't have control over your room in terms of who you get. But in addition to that, sometimes you're babysitting a little bit as guys get a little bit older in age.
Sure.
So I love the development factor. I love going into a home and selecting the guy that, their mindset is similar to yours, and developing that and taking it further.
What about the idea, of player development over the course of a 5-year period? Because you mentioned what you're looking for in a recruit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, once you get them on campus, maybe I'll ask you this way. What's the first thing that you do when you get a guy on campus? What's your approach?
Well, I mean, before they even get on campus, I've spent a good amount of time developing a relationship. This is pretty unique just because I've only been here a few weeks recruiting.
Sure.
But even that, I don't cast a big net. I focus on a few guys early on, and then it gets even smaller. And it's not because guys are pulling themselves coming to other places, because I'm not for everybody, and not everybody's for me.
Sure.
So I kind of own in on that. And maybe it's about 10 guys that I recruit. Maybe I land 4. Sometimes it's 6, and then they got to figure out the numbers.
Yeah.
But I want high pedigree guys that get after it, and I don't want to make any concessions. I like to get a certain kind of guy, and that's what I'm gonna stick with. So, I develop those relationships, and so I'm not talking to a bunch of guys. It's a few guys. So we're able to develop that kind of rapport that when they come in here, I don't have to go crazy on them or anything like that. We established a relationship that they want to do well for me, and then inherently I'm going to do the same for them because we have that bond.
Talking about relationships, tell us about your relationship with Coach Lanning. What was it about Coach, and how long does that go back?
That was my first time ever talking to him, was when he called me.
Really?
Yeah, so he just, obviously there's some people on our staff in Pittsburgh that coach with him, and I asked them about him, and then Kenny Dillingham, I knew him, and then Tony Tuioti, the D-line coach, we were roommates in college. So
really?
And he just recruited my son recently. And Demetrice Martin, we worked together for 5 years at UCLA, so those are the ones I knew. Everybody else is pretty new.
Man, I think about these connections.
And sorry, I'm a little sweaty. I was running over here because I was running late.
Oh, no, Coach, that's great. Well,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you, those of you many of you, in fact, have not been in the studio before. It runs real cold in here, so I think you actually did the right thing to build up the body temperature before you got here.
I'm 340. Once I build it up, it's hard to get it back down. So we're trying to get it under control. But
that's right. Yeah. Adrian Klemm joining us, associate head coach, offensive line coach, and then Joe Lorig, special teams coordinator, is going to come in next. I want to go back and talk about how big this coaching industry is, because you mentioned that's amazing that now your room is going to be competing in practice every day against your old roommate's room every day in practice. I mean, this is not a very big profession, is it? You all kind of know each other.
We know each other, and I knew Tosh. Actually, I forgot about Tosh, but I knew Tosh from before, and there's one time we came close to working together. But I've coached against Tosh in the league and in college, and then Tony in college, so when he was at Cal. So, I mean, there's been some crossover.
That's amazing.
It's kind of cool. Well,
I'm curious, too, because the competitive juices that you guys all have are next level, right? That's why you guys do this. But you're competing against people you know, people you respect, people you're friends sometimes. I mean, does that make it even more competitive sometimes for coaches?
Yeah, because you just this morning, Tosh was talking stuff to me about Myles Garrett, a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, it's so long ago. And then we're talking a story about Tyson Alualu, and he thought he had him in Jacksonville, and it's almost like recruiting, and he came back. It didn't involve me, but we're just talking that story. But yeah, it's competitive all the way around. You want to do well, and you take pride in what you do, and it's a reflection of you,
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So what's the schedule ahead for you? Are you going to be able to settle in, family? I mean, tell us about that.
I'm here with my 2 boys, so I just we're trying to get settled. They're both in high school. They're at Sheldon. One's a senior, and then the other one's a sophomore. So he just started football workouts, and the other one's getting ready to go and going to another school. So he's getting ready to play football himself. So just focusing on that and just getting settled, find a home, and just trying to do those things. I just haven't ever had a chance to do those things.
So this is the 6th day or the 7th day that you've been in Eugene?
I think it's about the 7th.
This is the 7th day that you've been in Eugene. Well, hey, thanks for being here.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate
I won't keep you for too long. It's a busy day. Adrian Klemm, everybody. Thanks for being here, Coach. Really appreciate it. Good to meet you. We're going to go through a lot of different folks here today. Joe Lorig is next, special teams coordinator and Nichols coach. Those of you who are with us live, thanks for being here. Signing day special brought to you by our friends at McDonald's. They're the official breakfast of the Ducks. We got breakfast from McDonald's today. We're equipped, everybody, okay? We got the coffee, the tea ready to roll. So we've got a full schedule ahead for all of the coaches, and I'll do my best to interact with fans as we get to know all of these coaches. So, Coach, if you're here, I saw him come in. I mean, he's ready to come on in and join us. The headset is yours. So, Coach, thanks for being here. We haven't gotten a chance to meet yet. Joey Mack, great to meet you. As Joe Lorig, special teams coordinator, Nichols coach, he'll be here in the studio. It's our signing day special. Dan Lanning, by the way, Oregon head coach, will be with us at about 9:05 is the scheduled time. You haven't got a chance to be in here yet. I haven't gotten a chance to meet you. So formally, Joey Mack.
Nice to meet you, Joey Mack.
Great to meet you. So one thing that I always do, Coach, whenever somebody comes in for the first time, I have them tell their 2-minute life story. Because I could sit here and read your bio, and fans are going to sit here and read your bio. But you know your 2-minute life story better than anybody. Introduce yourself to the fans if you could.
How we doing, guys? Yeah, my 2-minute life story. I'm Joe Lorig. I'm from Edmonds, Washington. Originally went to school at Western Oregon, so I'm kind of an Oregon guy. Traveled around a bunch after that in the coaching world, and really excited to be back home. There's my 2-minute not even 2-minute story.
I was going to say, you've got like another 90 seconds. The floor is yours. You can fill it.
That's okay. I don't like to talk too much about myself.
So Western Oregon, tell us about what it was like playing there, and then throughout your career, just how much has your view of football changed from when you were playing until now?
Yeah, so it was awesome to play at Western Oregon. Lifelong friends are from there. A bunch of them are now high school coaches. It's a big teaching college, and so a lot of guys that I played with and even guys that I live with are now high school coaches in the state. I've been able to see them the last couple of weeks, so that's been pretty cool. But also a big law enforcement school. I have a master's in correctional administration. Actually worked on death row and in some juvenile prisons and those kind of things. So that was a little bit of my background. That's why I went there in the first place. Didn't intend to end up coaching, but through a variety of different avenues, ended up in the coaching world. And certainly my vision has changed over the years, but there's something about going back to your roots and going back to what helped to shape you and make you what you are that I try not to ever get too far away from that, and know that to kind of be grounded in the fabric of what that place and the people, more importantly, the people at that place taught me. Has been really important for me as I've traveled around the world.
You mentioned the country. You mentioned that you were coming home. So was this kind of a destination job for you?
Yeah, this was always my dream job. This was always the place that I wanted to be. I didn't ever know that it would work out, just because you have to have the right person in charge to get the job, and it's got to be the right fit. And there's a whole bunch of factors that go into it. And after doing this for a long time, I knew that the chances of those things happening in our profession just aren't necessarily that good. So. When it was able to work out, to me, it's coming home. My wife's from Klamath Falls. Like I said, I went to school at Western Oregon. I'm from Seattle, and so it's just been a dream. I'm very excited to be here and can't wait to continue getting to work.
That's awesome. Well, we're glad to have you. So have you settled in yet? I asked Coach Klemm, how many days have you actually physically been in Eugene since you got hired?
I have not counted, but it's not been many. No, I'm not settled in at all. I did get a travel trailer pulled up here by my in-laws, so I at least have a place to put my head at night.
Good.
I have my truck pulled up from the in-laws in Klamath Falls, so I have a way to get around now. So that's good. My wife's actually here house shopping right now with my youngest daughter. So, I haven't been here very much, but again, I've been here a lot in the past, so It's not like I'm coming into something that I didn't know. I'm very familiar with the area. And being out recruiting, as I mentioned earlier, the last couple of weeks I've been recruiting Washington and Oregon, and was able to see like 4 of my college roommates just I think on last Friday. So
cool.
It's been awesome. Yeah, it's been awesome.
I was talking to Coach Klemm about this as Joe Lorig joins us. It's not a huge profession, coaching. Like you guys know so many people. You all know each other. You're competing against each other. That's kind of a cool aspect, I feel like, of your profession. That's not that big necessarily.
Yeah, it's really not that big. I mean, I think it seems big to people, but it's big in a way. You kind of get your own tree, and if, so to speak. And so, kind of once you're involved in that tree, like Coach Lanning's, I'm part of his tree. Obviously, we worked together a couple different times. So, it's big in some ways, but it's not big in others. Once you get into that circle that you're in. I'm just glad I was in the right one.
Yeah, I mean, so tell us about your relationship with Coach Lanning. So how did it all begin? How far back does it go? How did it happen?
Yeah, we both have very similar backgrounds in that, he's a small college Division II guy from William Jewell. I'm a small college Division II guy, Western Oregon. And so we kind of had both of us have similar upbringings as far as our family life and our financial situations and those kind of things. So we had a lot in common. We met he actually picked me up at the airport at Arizona State. He was a graduate assistant, and I was the cornerbacks coach, special teams coordinator. He picked me up at the airport, kind of gave me the lay of the land, and he was a graduate assistant my whole time at Arizona State. Then we went there. I'm trying to think. I think he left for a little bit. I left for a little bit, and then we came back together at the University of Memphis to work for Mike Norvell, who was our offensive coordinator when I was at Arizona State and he was at Arizona State. So we were at Memphis for a couple years together. Then he went to go to Georgia from there, and so we've worked together a couple different times. And then in between, we just stayed really good friends. It doesn't always work that way, but again, we just had a lot of stuff in common, and I'd like to think I was kind of a mentor to him, to be honest with you, maybe like a big brother.
That's awesome. I think that's awesome. And now the fact that you guys get to work together again, I mean, those are the cool stories. I think that's what makes it special.
Yeah, it's one thing to come home. That's obviously a huge thing for me, but I'm also coming home and I know what I'm getting into.
Sure.
Oftentimes when you take a job, you don't really know what the head coach is like or what's his personality. How does he value family? How does he value being a husband, being a dad? How's he going to value time? How's he going to value special teams, specifically in my role? And I feel like I really have, I have all those boxes checked. So it's a really comforting feeling.
Talking about your role, so you mentioned in the past, I was going to ask you about this. You've done the special teams and then a section of defensive backs in the past. I mean, was that really your specialty as you advanced in your coaching career, was these two spots?
Well, I actually was a defensive coordinator first for longer than I've been a special teams coordinator, so I started out in that role, transitioned to special teams kind of once I got to Arizona State, and then have coached, linebacker, really the back seven. I've coached linebackers, safeties, or corners all the time. I think it's really important from a team culture standpoint, how the team sees you, to not just do special teams, and I don't mean just to minimize, but I don't want the player, if I'm not in the defensive, or you could be offense, either way, I just happen to be defense, but if you're not in that group meeting or with that staff and you're kind of out on an island just doing special teams, the players don't necessarily get to know you and see you the same, and the staff doesn't get to know you and see you the same. You're just on your own all the time. So it's really, really important to me to be incorporated into one side or the other. I'm a defensive guy, so I'm in with the defense, and certainly that'll be a really, really important role. I don't want to minimize that, but my primary role is going to be to get this special teams where we want it to be.
What's your philosophy with special teams? Just tell us about how do you go about coaching it.
Yeah, so we coach it different than everybody else. I actually won't go too much into detail here, but we have a unique system that we run. But
don't give it away, please.
Yeah, I definitely won't. But we talk about changing the game. Special teams is going to change the game one way or another in every single game. Oftentimes, it's all the little plays that are lost to fans. They don't remember the kickoff that maybe was never returned. It was a touchback because you got a great kicker. It only went to the 25 instead of a touchdown. I watched the Rose Bowl and I was thinking, I bet Ohio State wishes they had a guy that could kick the ball out, right? As an example, it could be the punt that went 35 yards with a 10-yard return, or the punt that went 44 yards and it was a fair catch. Like, there's a huge difference in there. You might not remember that at the end of the game, but that's a huge game-changing play. And so we talk about that and just making sure that we only have two goals. We're going to own the ball. We're going to have no penalties. Very, very simple. Everyone, the janitor, will understand what our two goals are. And if you just do those two things and then you mix in some good players and some good coaching, really, really good things happen. And we want to have a huge impact on games, and I know we will.
When you're sitting here and talking to us on National Signing Day, I am curious, how much does the conversation of special teams come up? Because it is such an important facet, but kind of like you were alluding to, it is the other piece to the game with the offense-defense. What do you look for when you're recruiting for special teams?
Well, you say, how does it come up? Well, it's going to come up every day in our building because I know how Coach Lanning values it, or else I wouldn't be an Oregon Duck, right?
Sure.
I'm not going to be anywhere that it's not extremely valued because it's so critical, and it has to be valued that way for it to have the kind of impact that we're talking about it having. But, when you're looking at players, if you're looking at returners, they're going to be guys that are already going to be playing on offense or defense if they're good enough to be returners. They're going to be the best running back or the best receiver or the best defensive back, whatever that position is. So that kind of takes care of itself. And then where a lot of people get lost is just making sure that you're truly paying attention to detail to recruiting a punter, kicker, and snapper, because the value of that. To give you an example, last year at Penn State, we had 2 kickoff returns against us total all year. Wow. The total all year. We played against 4 All-Americans.
Wow.
Well, it's not what happened, it's what never happened, right? When you only have 2 returns all year, you would totally eliminate risk. So just as one example of something. So making sure that doesn't get lost on us, the value of those positions, and it won't get lost on me.
So you are an attention to detail guy. That's what I'm getting here.
Yeah, I think I'm probably a little over the top, maybe have OCD or something like that. I'm not sure. I have the
works.
same thing for lunch at the same time every day, that kind of guy. It's not all good.
Did we interrupt the routine then of the meals?
A little bit. It's throwing me off. I'm kind of like having to work through it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thanks for being here.
Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it. Joe Lorig, special teams coordinator, Nichols coach. I could talk to you for another hour, so thanks for the time. Great to meet you.
Yeah, we didn't talk fly fishing at all. That's my other big deal. Don't ask me where you should go. I'm not going to tell you that stuff. Kenny's over there listening.
He knew I was going to ask him.
Yeah,
you know who
you
just
need to give my stuff away.
You need to talk to Jerry Allen. Jerry Allen.
You're the first person to say that name. Okay.
He grew up in Grants Pass. He's been the voice of the Ducks for 35 years.
Okay.
Jerry has some spots.
Let's go.
Okay.
I'm ready.
All right.
Anytime. I will listen to secrets.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We all will.
I like it.
All right. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it. All right. It is our National Signing Day special. We continue. Dan Lanning will join us, Oregon head coach, coming up. Thank you again, Coach. He's going to join us about 9:05. Do about 10 minutes with each coach as we continue our National Signing Day special. It's presented by McDonald's, where it's buy one, get one for $1 right now for your breakfast. So that's what we had for breakfast this morning, and we've hydrated. We've done a nice job. Next up on the list, Kenny Dillingham is here, folks. The set is yours. I mean, this is. I don't like that we have started to call it the hot seat. I think that's. I don't really love it. I think it's going to be the big comfy chair. Coach, it's great to meet you. I'm Joey Mack.
Good to meet you.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Is it like Christmas for you guys today? I mean, is it kind of a celebration of all the hard work?
It is. I mean, it's awesome to get to actually know who you're going to coach.
Yeah.
Know the kids that you're going to be able to build a relationship with, and know the kids that you're going to know really for the rest of their lives.
You're an offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach. Have done that in your career. You've known Coach Lanning. I'm going to ask you your 2-minute life story like I have everybody else. So tell fans about yourself. How'd you get here?
Born and raised Scottsdale, Arizona. Whole family's from there. Wife's from there. I met my wife when I was in high school. We were actually neighbors growing up. So tore my ACL going into my senior year of high school. So started coaching at 17. Went to a Pac-12 school in the state of Arizona, near Phoenix, Arizona, if you can put that together.
I like that.
And went to school there, started coaching high school ball, coached high school ball for 7 years, 6 or 7 years. After I graduated from that college, I went on and got a graduate assistant role at that college. After coaching 7 years of high school football, I also coached Little League at that time.
Excellent.
I coached spring 6th graders, spring 7th graders. So I've coached every level of football, got into college, didn't have a dad, uncle, brother, nephew, any connection to get into college, got into Arizona State, worked my way up at Arizona State, moved to Memphis. We were really good on offense, so I became the offense coordinator there. When you're really good because you have really good players, because of days like today, right? You have really good players, you win a lot of games, and moved on to Auburn as the offense coordinator. Was at Auburn for a year, and then joined the guy who got me into coaching, Mike Norvell, back at Florida State. And then got the opportunity to be here.
And I should remind fans that Oregon fans remember how good that Auburn offense was. You were a big part of that. I remember it. I remember it. That was a great game. There's nothing else we could say about it, right?
It was a great game. But now that I'm here, I kind of wish we would have dropped the ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. I do have to ask you a little bit about your quarterback room. That's the most focused on position on the field. It's probably, I think a lot of people would say, maybe you agree, most important position in all of sports. There's so much scrutiny on it. What do you make of your group right now, particularly with Bo Nix coming in and the guys that are returning? What have you seen? What do you like?
I love the group. I mean, I think they have great chemistry already. I think they're guys that are willing and hungry to learn. That's what I get from the group. Those guys are willing and hungry and dedicated. And when you're talking about quarterback play, you have to have the dedication to be great. It's not one of those things that you can show up on game day and go out there and be a Heisman Trophy winner. You got to bring it every single day. So I think as a group, I think we have a mindset. And it wasn't me. It was here before we got there. I think they got this mindset that they want to be great and they want to compete. And not everybody in today's day and age wants to compete. And when you have guys who want to compete, competition builds greatness. And that's what we're trying to do. Adding Bo Nix to the fold, we added somebody who's a fierce competitor. And he's come in here, and he's just done everything he could to be the very best version of himself. And you've got guys like Ty and Jay who are here, and they're trying to be the best versions of themselves. So if everybody can just be the best version of themselves, if everybody can just compete to be their very best them, then whatever happens, happens, and they're going to be the best version of them, so everybody wins.
And then you always need more than one guy at each position.
That's right.
Yeah, don't you? Kenny Dillingham, offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach. What do you look for in a recruit as we sit here on signing day? What's the first thing that jumps off the page to you?
Explosiveness. I want a guy who, when he is explosive, I don't care if it's a guard, tackle, center. When you watch the film of a wideout, when you watch the film of a quarterback, a tight end, a running back, a hybrid, an athlete, whatever it is, you should see explosiveness, an explosive tackle coming out of his hips on GT counter at the second level and pancaking somebody, a wideout catching a slant and going for 80, tight end knocking somebody in the dirt and then catching a fade the very next play, right? I'm looking a running back go for 90, right, on inside zone, a play that you should only get 6.5 yards a carry if you're elite at. And so I'm looking for explosive playmakers. This is a system built for playmakers. That's it. If you're a playmaker, you want to play in this system. So it's a system built for playmakers. I'm looking for explosive playmakers.
Talking about your system, tell us a little bit more about your offensive philosophy. I'll ask the follow-up there.
We're going to be versatile. We're going to be a system that plays, or a pro-style offense that's going to play extremely fast. We want to play 80 snaps a game. We want to get people touches, and we want to be explosive. We want to create matchups because it's a game of matchups. That's why it's a pro-style system, because in the NFL, you don't have a left receiver and a right receiver. You have what receiver do you want to get one-on-one with a certain DB? What tight end do you want to get one-on-one? What running back do you want to get one-on-one? It's a system built around our players to create the best matchups, and we want to do that at a rapid pace because we want to do that and snap the ball as many times as we can so we can get those guys as many touches as possible. So that's why I say it's a pro-style offense that plays fast. And once again, it's a system built for playmakers. If you're a guy who can win a one-on-one, right, we're going to get you in one-on-one situations versus the best matchup in that game.
I just want you to know that as you were describing your offensive philosophy, there was a wall of likes and hearts that came across on the Facebook live stream. So
is that good?
That's a good thing.
Okay, I'm just kidding.
But I'm going to follow up here because Summer also says if you're not following you on Twitter, then you need to for all Duck fans. So your social media game is strong. I've seen it, Coach.
I mean, I guess.
How much do you value that, though, in recruiting, Coach? I mean, I ask this kind of tongue-in-cheek, but it is an important part of what you guys do now.
Well, I do, and I especially think because of, name, image, and likeness, I think it's important for coaches to help brand their players. I mean, I can't get involved in that, but what I can do is I can retweet players. I can create some buzz around prospects, around committing, around, this is an exciting thing, a kid commits or a kid visits. And we can create some excitement about that on social media. And I can't mention the kids. I can't do all that for NCAA rules. But I think creating the buzz and excitement around Oregon, around the Ducks, around, a place that when you think of Oregon, you think of explosive offense. Sure. You think of fun. You think of flash. You think explosion, right? So if you're an offensive recruit, if you're an offensive player in our roster, we need to brand that. We need to sell that. We need people to say, okay, there are elite players on campus. We need to be excited about that because if we get those players, if that happens, right, that helps everybody. Sure. So I think for me, it's more just, it's what's right for Oregon. Oregon deserves to be branded in that way that they've worked hard to get to, and that's fast, fun, explosive. And that's all I'm trying to do is make sure people understand this brand.
Going back to your relationships and coaching for a moment, you've known Coach Lanning. Tell us about Coach Lanning. What should fans know about Coach Lanning? What excites you about working with Coach Lanning?
He's the best football coach I've ever been around, X's and O's wise. There's not a better X's and O's. There's not a better football coach I've ever been around. I used to call him back when he didn't let me call him when I was at Auburn and he was at Georgia. We didn't have as many of those conversations,
right.
But the year that he left to Georgia and I was the OC at Memphis, and the year I was at Florida State, the years I was at Florida State, I would call him going into a game, and I'd say, hey, look, it looks like they're playing 3-match, but they're taking the mic all the way through to the back. It's a little bit different than most teams play 3-match. Tell me why. And we get on the phone. I get on FaceTime. I'd show him the clip, and he'd be like, well, it's the reduced split of the A receiver, so the reduced split is causing them to tandem it. And I'm like, perfect. How do we take advantage of it? We would talk. He would then get back and be like, hey, question for you. He'd show me something an offense is doing. Is that an auto adjustment or what? And I'd communicate to him. So we've always had that special relationship because I think so highly of him as a football guy. And then you take all that football stuff, and he's even a better human. He's not he is literally an unbelievable person. He's funny, he's relatable, he's genuine, and he's passionate. And anytime you get a person who's relatable and funny, but it's not fake. It's just who he is. But at the same time, he's passionate. And that passion is gonna show sometimes in different ways, right? But as long as you know it's coming from a good spot, and you know the passion is genuine, and the passion's because he cares, that's what Coach Lanning is.
Man, that's awesome to hear. I think that you just fired up at the entire
Did
fan
they
base.
like it and heard it? Okay.
They did. There were so many different things. That, I want to ask you, too, before I let you go, that talk about social media, talk about all these things. You have made a point to say, like, hey, I want to recruit Arizona. I want to recruit the West Coast. I want to do all these things. How important is that for you guys to hit the Pac-12 footprint hard in recruiting here?
Well, I'm born and raised in Arizona, and when you think of West Coast, right, you see it. There it is.
Right.
It's on your chest.
Right.
It's Oregon. It's Oregon.
I'm in.
When you think of West Coast football, I was just in the South for 4.5, 5 years. You know what those teams think of? Oregon. I was talking to a kid from Florida. You know what he was thinking of? He's not interested in other schools out west. You know what school he's interested in? Oregon. This is a brand that is national. It is absolutely national. And our kids on the West Coast got to understand that, not only is it okay to stay on the West Coast and compete for a national championship, is what we should do. If we want to bring this conference to the next level, if we want to compete at Oregon like we've competed at places in the past, we've got to keep the kids from here to stay at the school that can compete for national championships, and that's us.
I love it. Kenny Dillingham, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the day. Welcome to Eugene. Welcome to Oregon. We're glad to have you.
I appreciate it. You have a great day.
All right, you too. All right, now from one coordinator to another coordinator, now to another coordinator. We're going to go from offensive coordinator Kenny Dillingham. Thank you, Coach. Really appreciate it. To defensive coordinator Tosh Lupoi, who's coming in to join us here in the Country Financial Studio. National Signing Day special for all of these coaches for the most part. This is the first time that they've been here actually in person, so it's also the first time that I've gotten a chance to say, Coach, welcome to Eugene.
How we doing?
I'm
Good
Joey
to be
Mack.
here.
How are you?
Awesome.
First of all, well done on the attire. You sharp look today, sir.
Just being me.
Just being you. All right. Well, so tell us about you. I've been asking everybody to kind of introduce themselves to the fans, Coach. Tell us your 2-minute life story of how you got here and what you're all about.
2 minutes, huh? Well, I was originally from the East Bay, California.
Okay.
Take a lot of pride in that area.
Yeah.
Went to De La Salle High School out there.
Not a bad program.
Amazing experience there. Strong tradition connection from there to here. And from there, pathway, played at Cal Berkeley. Had an amazing experience there with the relationships of teammates. Being around a lot of good coaches as well, fortunately. And from there, had my quest to compete and attempt to compete at the next level at the National Football League. Broke my foot for the third time. Sent home. That didn't work out the way I wanted to. So was fortunate to have the opportunity to start coaching on Jeff Tedford's staff, another Duck. And couldn't have been more thankful and fortunate for that opportunity. And began both progressing towards a master's program and coaching football, something I didn't really see myself doing in the past. And that's when I absolutely fell in love. Took about 7 minutes, I think, in our first drill. And we started to get some cool results because I was really fortunate to coach some really good players. And from there, began my career and my passion for life. Continued that on to the University of Washington.
Mm-hmm.
We had 2 real successful seasons there and progressed. And Coach Sark was able to take the USC job.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I went to Alabama there, spent the next 5 seasons of my life with Nick Saban. and amazing experience there. In transition, while I was at Washington, was introduced by a man I respect a lot, Cooper Pallure, and he introduced me to now my wife at the time, his sister. So started that period of my life as well, of the woman that's the most important of my life, Jordan, my wife. And we have 2 beautiful children. So as we're in Tuscaloosa for 5 seasons, Locke was born there. And we then went to the National Football League. Always had that dream. So started that new chapter of our life. Fortunate to coach a lot of amazing players there. And did Cleveland Browns, the Atlanta Falcons, Dan Quinn, and around a lot of awesome coaches with, once again, some more powerful P&W roots, Dan Quinn.
That's right.
And then from there, this last go-around with Coach Urban Meyer at Jacksonville. And now I'm sitting in this chair in Eugene. So there's your 2-minute.
That was well done.
You know what? Right before that, we've missed a big event, Logan, the birth of my daughter. So now 2 minutes and 6 seconds.
That was really good, by
Yes,
the way.
I
you
know.
We either get like the 2-second life story,
Yes.
or you really get like the perfect 2 minutes. So
Yeah,
thank you.
We're on time, just like our players here.
That's right. And do you believe in Lombardi time, where if you're 15 minutes early, that means you're on time?
Just on time.
Just on time.
Yep.
All right. So I got to ask you, because you've been around so many big-name coaches. What have you learned? How have they all influenced your philosophy in coaching? I know that's a big question, but I feel like with so many great coaches that you've gotten a chance to work with and have earned the right to work with, what is your philosophy? How have you taken it from all those guys?
I think it really does go back. There's the cliche saying of a product of your environment. I do truly believe, though, both from a positive and negative effect, we are constantly learning and growing, and a lot of that has to do with the environment we're in and who we're learning from. So, I'm just so fortunate, mainly because of a lot of great players that I've been fortunate to coach, to be able to open doors in all different avenues in the National Football League at multiple different organizations, and obviously in the college ranks as well. So to soak in that's always a guidance for me of my decision making of where I go next. So to kind of follow my track record with aspirations of constant improvement personally, to be able to surround myself with the names of Dan Quinn and Raheem Morris and Urban Meyer, Nick Saban. That's always, and now Dan Lanning, and was a major reason of me sitting in this chair right now for that reason, because of the full understanding and knowledge of the environment that we will be in here, both as coaches and players, of constant improvement, constant working towards something special.
What is Coach Lanning all about? How long have you known him, your relationship? Just tell fans about what about him made you want to come here and be here?
Well, there's a lot of things, but extremely well organized, passionate. He's in it for the right reasons. The players play extremely hard for him because they know when your head coach is all in for you and your best interests. That's what the results you're going to get typically. So there's a lot of positive attributes I could list, but those are the ones that really stand out. A man of integrity, man of honesty, and someone I want to be around, someone I want my players to be around.
What's your view of your roster as we sit here on signing day? A lot of guys have come in. Remember, GoDucks.com/signing day if you want to read about all of the latest recruits. We'll talk about a number of them over the course of the next hour or so. But Coach, what do you like about your team right now? What's the breakdown for fans of your defense?
Yeah, I think it's exciting. Typically when you embark in a new journey like this, you unfortunately, such as the past head coach here, who I have a good relationship with and think highly of, when that individual goes to the next opportunity, it's typically of one that's perhaps in disarray or had their issues, and there's a reason why there's an opening here.
Sure.
So there's a unique situation here where with a group of young men that have progressed the way they have, and to be in a situation where we're not inheriting a group that has necessarily a losing culture, right? Certainly think there's some things we can fine-tune and attack, and that's what we're attempting to do to improve and attempt to go take the the next level of what this place is capable of and what they've done in the past here. But I think, with our current roster, you do have some explosive individuals. You got some guys that play with hunger. You got some guys that will go attack the ball, and that's our job now, to try to direct all that in the right direction and go chase something special.
Talking about some of those individuals, a lot of fans are excited to see what the linebackers look like, and as the defensive coordinator, you're also going to be coaching linebackers. There's some pretty special talent there in that linebacker room.
Yeah, I agree.
Noah Sewell, I have to ask you an individual. Seems like a guy that could really be a game changer.
Yes, I would agree to that. I think he's. I think Noah can benefit too from our system and our goals of how we're going to coach him. And I think along with some other individuals too. So I think for us, I don't think it's really fair for myself to talking about an assessment necessarily of the players. When you're watching the self-scout from the year before the previous years, you can see basic things like evaluating recruiting film, but you also got to always keep in mind of the schematics, the technique they were coached may be different, and but there's no question a man like Noah, and there's some certain other individuals I think that are going to plug in, go to work. Before we get all there, I think it's a lot more important that we're connecting, right? And that was the first message from Coach Lanning, and I think we just came from a bunch of dinners last night together. It was awesome to, connect at that level first. Then from there, more so, get into some concepts and technique, and then really get into the scheme of what we're going to do. Because before we get into the scheme, if those other things aren't there, you can just write me an email and tell me what we want to do, because that's we got to get there first, before we're passionately playing for something bigger than just ourselves, and then how we're utilizing our fundamentals and technique, we'll never lose sight of that.
Before I let you go, I got to ask you, what do you look for in a recruit? Because we're sitting here on National Signing Day. We didn't get a chance to run through a lot of your individuals that you've brought in, Coach, but what do you look for in general in a recruit? What makes you go after a guy?
Well, first and foremost, I want to see an elite competitor. An elite competitor, somebody that stands out and has an extremely competitive nature about him and how he plays the game. So that's right off the bat. Really searching for someone that demonstrates great mental and physical toughness, leadership value, an individual that got to have some kind of football IQ and an understanding of the importance of passing his classes to be able to play football as well and go get a degree, most importantly. And then, really some form of an individual being adaptable. And if we can check those boxes, and of course assess the other sides of things of a strong character individual and somebody that does pay attention to detail with, having his progress towards a degree, you might have a chance to come to Oregon.
I love it. Tosh Lupoi, hey, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
For
Thanks
being
for having
here.
me.
Yeah, you
no
bet.
doubt.
You're welcome here anytime, and enjoy the rest of the day. It's
Appreciate
a celebration. I know that.
That's right.
All right. Tosh Lupoi, Oregon
good
defensive coordinator. First time that we've had him in the Country Financial studio. We roll on. Dan Lanning coming up here, Oregon head coach at about 9:05. Next up, Junior Adams, co-offensive coordinator, wide receivers coach. Going to get to know him a little bit. And thanks again to Coach Lupoi for joining us. It's our National Signing Day special presented by McDonald's. And I'm looking forward to getting to know a bunch of different people today, because we've been talking about it. We knew that everybody was out recruiting, right? We all follow social media. Grab that headset right there to your left, Coach, and we're ready to rock and roll. You guys we've been talking about this, and sort of jokingly, like, I haven't gotten a chance to meet most of you guys because, well, you guys have been working. You guys have been out coaching. So, Junior Adams, I'm Joey Mack. Great to meet you, buddy.
Joey, it's a pleasure.
How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Today is like Christmas in February.
Well, it's a celebration.
It is a celebration of a lot of hard work.
It's a good day for everybody, especially the prospects.
No doubt about that. And I want to talk with you about a number of different individuals. But let me first just start with, have you been in Eugene for physically a week yet since you took the job?
Let me think here. Physically, consecutive 7 days? No.
No way. Yeah.
But I think the days I have been here, it's probably equaled 7 days.
Okay, so
yeah.
So about a week total is the running amount right now. So everybody that I've had on, Coach, I love to have you guys kind of just tell us about yourselves. Tell your 2-minute life story if you could, as our fans get to know you.
Okay, so where do we start at? I'm from Fremont, California.
Mm-hmm.
which is located in the Bay Area. And I love where I'm from. If you guys know people from the Bay Area, we're pretty territorial.
I grew up in Santa Cruz.
Okay, so you get it.
I get it.
My Bay people's here.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. I'm not going to tell you where I went to college out of high school, but I could tell you where I transferred to.
Okay.
Okay. I transferred to Montana State.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's where I finished my degree and got done playing in 2002. 2004, I got the wide receiver job there at Montana State.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Mike Kramer gave me my first job. I was there at 4, 5, and 6. From there, I went to Prosser High School in Washington, where I got the opportunity to coach for coach under Tom Moore,
Mm-hmm.
which is a legendary high school coach in the state of Washington, father of Kellen Moore,
Mm-hmm.
Kirby Moore. From there, I went to University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, where I was coaching running backs. That was a good experience for me. I was there 8 months, so I was kind of out of my comfort zone, but I learned a lot. Obviously, when you get out of your comfort zone, I feel like you really you can learn and grow a lot. And I was able to do it at a young age. You know what I mean? It was good to get out and see a place I've never been before. I was there 8 months, and then from there I went to Eastern Washington,
Mm-hmm.
where I was there from 2009 to 2013. Worked under a guy by the name of Bo Baldwin, who was awesome. We had a great time there. We won a national championship in 2010. Was able to coach some phenomenal players. We had a really good run. Then I went to Boise State from 14, 15, and 16. Gosh, I'm losing track of places now.
They run together over time.
I mean, seriously. I was at Boise 14, 15, 16 under Brian Harsin, which was a good run there too. Won a Fiesta Bowl in 14. Again, phenomenal. Coached some really good players. Learned a lot. Good staff. And then from there, I took an offensive coordinator job at Western Kentucky, and which was good. I was worked with Mike Sanford, who I worked with at Boise State, and then I was there for 2 years. And then from there, I went to the place up north.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I was able to work for, under Coach Chris Peterson, who I love dearly, who was close to me, and I was able to really grow under him, and it was an awesome experience. So, and now I'm here, and I'm very fortunate to be here. Coach Dan Lanning and the staff, they're very welcoming. I mean, I didn't know Dan prior to coming here, but I tell you what, this last month, working underneath him and being around him and what he has, he has consistently been the same person every day.
Really?
And that is impressive to me, especially with all he's been doing. He put the staff together in the middle of a playoff run,
Mm-hmm.
and then wins a national championship.
Mm-hmm.
The next day he's on the plane and he has a staff meeting, and he's been the same person every day, the same person in recruiting. I got to spend a couple of days with him on the road, and it was awesome, just him and I connecting. I thought that was very important, and I had a great time. So now I'm very excited to be here, very excited for this opportunity, and ready to get rolling.
Well, we're glad you're here, I think.
Yeah.
Right? That was another one. We've had back-to-back, like, complete 2-minute life stories, and I thank you for that, because it gives us a chance to get to know you a little bit. And you've been around so many great coaches that have influenced you.
Yes.
What's your philosophy on coaching, and why'd you get into it? What's special about it to you?
Obviously, and I walked in when Tosh was talking. The most importantly is just connecting. I really do believe that majority of our job is to help these young men develop as people. I'll talk about being a pro, right? And people think, well, when you say be a pro, it's playing in the NFL. Well, no, to me, it's just being prepared, ready, and organized, and that's preparing people for life.
Sure.
So I really believe in that. And then from there, just the technique part of it. And I'm not really like a yeller, but I'm gonna be honest and upfront, and I'm gonna be positive. I'm gonna build you up. That's who I am.
I love that. So I got to ask you about one guy. We're listing him as a receiver out of Lake Oswego.
Yeah.
That's exciting for fans, right? When Justice Lowe commits, Lake Oswego, Oregon, out of Lake Oswego High School, 6'1", 182. There's a little bit of film that we have for you. I believe Scott will be able to play it for you, Coach. You can tell us a little bit about your latest addition to your wide receiver.
No, Justice Lowe. Obviously, when I got here, we need to pick up a wide receiver, and he's committed somewhere else. And he's a local guy. I got to know him over the course of these last 3 weeks, I will say. And originally I'm thinking this is a quiet guy, right? Like on the phone he was like really quiet. He's just always smiling, and on FaceTime but he wouldn't say much, right? And then we started connecting. We started talking more, and then him and his mom and I started having a good relationship. And then he comes up on his trip, and this dude he's got a bunch of energy. I mean, I'm like, where'd this come from? He's dancing all over the place. Do you know what I mean? He's just smiling and having a great time. And then he woke up one morning, obviously prior to his trip, and was like, gosh, I'm an Oregon Duck.
I love it.
Like, you know what I mean? And that's what it's about. You know what I mean? It's like he went to bed that night as an Oregon Duck, and he woke up the next morning as an Oregon Duck, then that's who you are. And you know, he got the opportunity to stay home, play next to his play to where his mom can come watch him play.
That's cool.
And his family, and he's really big on family. So now I'm fired up about him. You know, he's only played 3 years of football. You know, his mom wouldn't let him play, and the other day she was like, gosh, I'm sorry I didn't let him play. You know, he's only played 3 years. But I'm like, no, gosh, he's just scratching the surface. So the ceiling's high for this young man, and he's got good speed. He was a track guy. He can stretch it vertical. He can get in and out of his cuts. You know, a big thing too for me at that position is guys that just compete for the football. You know what I mean? Because you're not always going to run the best route. You're not always going to create the separation you want to create. And so at the end of the day, when the ball's in the air, can we go get the football? And he does that.
What's your assessment of your current group right now? I promise we'll have video coming up, everybody.
Okay.
We've got it for you. But what's your assessment of your group right now? What do you like about your wide receivers?
I mean, there's a lot of talent in there. And it's, you know, when I walk in the building and the first thing I see is just size. Good size, good speed. Obviously, you know, being familiar with this conference and recruiting some of the same players, you know, I've seen some of these kids since they were in high school.
Sure.
Some of these young men since they're in high school. So they're, you know, big size and speed. They're young. It's untapped. I think they did a good job of building that room. There's a lot of good young depth in there, and they're all different. You know, they're all different, and you know, I'm excited to really work with these guys. We went out to dinner last night. We had a ball.
You know, everybody's been
talking
talking
about
about
dinner
that.
last night. It was awesome. You know, these guys are very personable. It's another just connecting. As much as we can just keep building these relationships and connecting, you know, I think that is the foundation and the groundwork that we're laying first.
You've experienced Autzen Stadium.
Yes.
Now you're going to experience it with all of the green and yellow fans rooting behind you.
Right.
What's that experience been like as the opposition, and how excited are you to be in Autzen Stadium with your team, Coach?
No, the experience obviously as an opposing team is loud.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's gonna, you know, your preparation all week as an opposing team is going to be prepared around, you know, silent count from the offensive perspective. And everybody being on the same page and not being able to do as much offensively as you normally would do because of the crowd noise. You know, so that's been a good experience. You know, I like playing. I like going into places, and I'm a fan. I'm a junkie of football and sports, and you know, the experience of playing in, you know, awesome stadiums and venues is always a good time. And now I'm on the other sideline, so it's gonna be.
That's right. You know
what I mean. So
that's what it's all about.
Yeah, they're not gonna get loud on third down on offense, right?
That's right. That's right.
For Coach Lanning, for Tosh and the defense, yes, let's
different
go.
Story.
Yeah, let's
different
go.
Story.
Right.
Speaking of Coach Lanning, you know,
there he is.
It's the time. So Junior Adams, hey,
it
thanks
was
for
fun.
being here.
No,
man.
I appreciate
really
it. Thank you.
appreciate it. We'll have him on again, I'm sure. Thank you, Coach.
Yeah,
really
thank
appreciate
you.
the time. So now it's time for the head man. Dan Lanning, Oregon head coach, going to join us here coming up. It's our National Signing Day special. It's a good day. It's a celebration around all of college sports, college football in particular. It is a celebration day, and we're going to be celebrating over the course of the entire day. GoDucks.com/signing day for where you could tune in. Coach, we've spoken for about 30 seconds prior to this, and I think that you've probably had this experience with pretty much everybody. So, Joey Mack.
Joey, what's good?
Great to see you. You know, we were just talking, Coach, with a number of your staff, and it's been awesome, I got to tell you. It's been absolutely awesome for fans to get to know them. There's about 1,000 people watching between all the platforms right now, which that's awesome for me to sit here and say that it's a chance for an introduction. What I want to start with you on is the fact that everybody who's been in here, all of your staff has said, you know, you're just the same guy. You're consistent, and everybody's had nothing but positive things to say about you, which doesn't come as a surprise. But I'm going to ask you, what's the secret sauce? How do you stay consistent? How do you stay the same guy all the time? Because, Coach, you've had a lot going on over the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's been wild. You know, I think people perform at their best when they don't, you know, they try not to be something they're not. And, you know, I think that's one thing that I watch the coaches that I've been under in the past is if they operated as who they were probably the most successful.
Makes sense. So I've asked everybody for their 2-minute life story. Now, fans have already heard a little bit of yours.
Yeah.
So Can I ask for like the 30-second life update for you? What have you been up to? Take fans inside the process of your last couple months since taking the job.
Yeah, I know you said, we've only probably talked, 30 seconds up into this. If you could play football, I promise you we would have talked more.
Sure.
And
I can't. Trust me.
Yeah. So, it's been a lot of recruiting and a lot of time connecting with our players, spending a lot of time trying to spend time around our guys every chance we got back here in the building. So, basically throughout the week, we'd be out on the road, hotel to hotel, house to house, home to home. I think I was in 10 states in the last, 13, 14 days. So a lot of travel, and then when we were back for the weekend for official visits and unofficial visits, spent a lot of time around our guys and building those relationships. But really nonstop, wrapping up the signing day, the recruits for the 2022 class, but obviously really excited about the future as well, 2023, 2024, and beyond.
How much are you looking at that on a day like today? It's a celebration of the 22 class, but you're always looking ahead, aren't you?
Yeah, I think a lot of staff sit around and drink coffee and eat donuts today, and I think we're trying to get a leg up on everybody else. So on to the next one.
Talk about connecting your team. I've heard a lot about that from your staff today. Just what's that process been like? I know there were a lot of dinners last night. Everybody's been talking about that. It's been fun. And just you're connecting with your team. How's it been going? Yeah,
it's been great. I think people recognize genuine and real, and you can say that you're about connection, but you got to be willing to take the time to spend around each other. And it's not lip service for us. It's got to be more than that. It's got to be action. So we're trying to get to spend as much time around our guys as possible, and that's the only way, to be real and to get to know each other is to spend time with each other, quality time.
What do you look for in a recruit?
Talent first, right? But not only. They have to have great character. I think that's really important. The guys we bring in our locker room are the kind of guys we want, to build our team around. Here they need to be elite. They need to be dynamic. I know one of the things that we've added, in this group this year is speed. Mm-hmm. We've added a lot of guys that run sub-10 sevens in the 100 meters, dash, which is an impressive feat in itself, but that gives us team speed, defensive speed particularly, that we can coach.
We got more signees coming in, so I don't want to get anybody. I've been saying, Coach, we don't want to get any angry emails from NCAA compliance. So follow along with Oregon football over the course of the day. We'll see. Maybe there's some announcements coming your way. But as you sit here right now, Coach, it's a defensive-heavy class, and you talked about speed. What is your assessment of your class? You feel like you filled some needs that you needed to fill today?
Yeah, absolutely. We're excited about the guys we're able to bring on board, and the guys that are still coming on board. Defense, had some pieces that we felt like we could fill needs at, quickly, and we were really challenged ourselves to make sure we were bringing guys in that we think can make an impact. So I think we've done that.
Talking about it today being sort of a celebration. It's a celebration for you guys and the hard work paying off, but a celebration for the athletes as well that get a chance to enjoy this. Just what would you say to some of the young folks maybe that you're recruiting years down the road? How do they get to today to celebrate like they should today after a lot of hard work pays off?
They've earned it, right? But and they've certainly earned it, deserved it, and they need to be able to celebrate it. But it's a little bit also, so what? Now what? The stars aren't here anymore,
sure,
right? The phone calls, those are gone. Like, let's get to work. And I think every one of our guys that we brought in is excited about that.
You talked about kind of the young guys, but you've also brought in a few transfers since you've last spoken to everybody. Just tell us about what you got in a few of your transfers in Taimani, Gonzalez, and Nix coming in. Just I'll name those three for you.
Yeah, and again, for every guy that we brought in the program, we feel like in some way they can impact us, make an impact quick. We were looking for guys that are competitive, guys that we had personal association with and knew about, personally in a way, like either were involved in their recruitment initially, had gone against them, and had a really good feel for what kind of character kids they were. And for all those guys, we felt strong, about that they could help and enhance our program, which they've done a great job buying in and being part of this team.
Something that I've noticed on social media, Coach, is your connection with Oregon football alums. They've been very vocal on social media about how much they appreciate that connection. How much of that was a priority for you? And also, you talk about connecting all these different generations of Oregon football. It seems like you're doing that.
Yeah, we're certainly trying. I mean, if it's 6 months from now, if it's not still occurring, it's just lip service. So that's the key for us is we can say it now, but I think actions, speak a lot louder. So we'll see what it's like. It's been so much fun. Kind of have the unfiltered view. We got to do a Zoom with the alumni on Monday with a lot of former players, and there was a bunch of guys on there. And for me, it was just fun sitting around talking ball, talking Oregon history, and I got connected at one point. I'm a big Chiefs fan, so I got connected with J.J. Burden on there, which I remember growing up watching J.J. Burden for the Chiefs. So stuff like that fires me up. I'm still a fan in a lot of ways.
Your staff is assembled, and the support staff is assembled. Do you feel like things are settling down for you now? And tell us about your staff a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just so thrilled. These guys have been working their tails off. We looked for two things. We looked for relationships and we looked for development at every position that we hired, and I think we hit home runs across the board. These guys are working tirelessly. I need to thank their wives and their families for the commitment that they've made to Oregon and how hard they've been working. Certainly grateful for our players and their understanding, as it's been kind of a transition, crazy transition for them as well. But we got some good people coming in here. We were able to get the best of the best, and I'm thrilled about it.
You went out to the men's basketball game over Oregon State. I'm happy to report that you're 1-0 as a fan in Matthew Knight Arena.
I need to get more invites.
So keep it coming. You're welcome, I think, anytime at this rate. Coaches, what was that like for you getting up there at halftime, talking to the crowd? That had to be a cool experience.
Man, our fans are awesome. Our fans are awesome. That was my first experience getting to see Shout, first, and I loved it. I asked our staff yesterday, okay, I want to make sure I'm doing this right. Am I clapping at the right time? Are my hands going up?
Well done.
And then I was a little disappointed. I didn't realize I was supposed to be laying on the ground when it got a little bit quiet.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So I'm going to get all that better. I'm going to keep improving. I'm not satisfied, but talk about passionate fans. Coach Altman, they killed it. That was awesome, especially against those over there.
That's right.
That's a fun team to beat. So it was a blast.
So you also broke some news for us during your speech. April 23rd, 1 p.m. will be the spring game.
Let's go.
Tell fans about the schedule ahead. What's your spring football schedule? What can they expect?
Yeah, right now we're entering kind of a wintering condition period where we're getting to work with our guys with some team runs, some heavy lifting there in the weight room, and then really, some get real sessions where we're kind of hopping into the mind and deep dive into, a personal connection piece, and then we'll work our way into spring ball, get into spring installs and walkthroughs and crank it up. But the 23rd, for sure, we want to see Autzen. I want to hear about this stadium sound that I've been hearing about.
Well, and you're on the defensive side, coming from that side in your coaching realm,
That's right.
That's what Coach Adams was just saying. Like, it's your defense that's going to be dealing with the loudness. That's what you like, right? That's what you want to see.
Make that thing loud. Yeah. Make that thing loud. We love it. It's going to be an advantage for us in this conference. We want people to not want to come play here.
It's a busy day for you, so I got to say thanks for taking the time. I said that I'd keep you 10 minutes. We've kept you a little longer than that, so I want to close with just, Coach, what do you want to say to the fans? What did we miss today? What do you want fans to know as you are hearkening in a new era of Oregon football?
Yeah, I just want our fans to realize how excited but also how honored our staff is to get to wear that hat, to get to wear the O, be associated with this program, and I'm thrilled about the direction we're headed. I've said it a few times that every piece matters. 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 is going to be the difference for us, and our fans are a big part of that. So let's keep the movement. Let's keep it rolling, and we're looking to build off the success that's already existed here at Oregon and for the future.
I love it. Coach, thank you for being here.
Go Ducks.
Really appreciate it. Dan Lanning, Oregon football head coach. First time that we've had him in the studio, and, Coach, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. We'll continue rolling on. We've got the rest of the staff to talk to. It's a busy day around Oregon athletics. These guys are coming down from the Hatfield-Dowling complex here to the second floor of the Casanova Center for our signing day special. It's brought to you by McDonald's. We're in the Country Financial Studio, and Matt Powledge is here, ladies and gentlemen. We go from coach to coach. Coach, it's great to meet you. First of all, so we're just going to keep things rolling. I'll do my best to keep up with the comments and questions because, hey, look, Twitter Spaces has changed things, right? Like, interacting with people has never been easier, so we're going to do our best to do that. Matt Powledge, co-defensive coordinator, safeties coach. I'm Joey Mack.
Yeah, Matt Powledge.
We haven't gotten a chance to meet yet, so I've asked everybody this. Tell us your 2-minute life story. Introduce yourself to the fans a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm from Huntsville, Texas, born and raised about an hour north of Houston. Grew up there, went to high school there. There's only one high school in the town. Everybody goes to Huntsville High. Went to college at Sam Houston State, which is also in Huntsville. So that was kind of the first 22 years of my life I spent there. Got my first coaching opportunity as a graduate assistant, Southeastern Louisiana. First full-time job was at Northwestern State. Spent 1 year in the SEC at the University of Kentucky. It was Mark Stoops' first year. Traveled back to my alma mater, Sam Houston State. Went to the state of Louisiana, spent 4 years there. Ended up leaving Louisiana Lafayette, where Coach Billy Napier was the head coach, to go to Baylor University. Spent 2 years there as the safeties coach and special teams coordinator. grew a ton in that defense, and then got the opportunity to come here about a month ago with Coach Lanning, who I had worked with previously at Sam Houston State in 2014.
Dan Lanning, you mentioned the 2014 connection.
Yeah.
Tell us about your relationship with Coach, and what about him was like, hey, man, I'm going to come play with this guy?
Well, I think it was pretty obvious on that staff. We had a lot of good football coaches, but he stood out as kind of the top guy in my opinion. You knew with the energy, the passion that he had, the relationships that he built, and just the difference that he made in our athletes' lives just in that short time there. You knew the sky was the limit for him. You know, it was funny. We lived on the same street. We lived like 2 houses down from each other. So he had Sophia and the 3 boys were all in the house over there. And when they would want to go out on a date or something and they needed a babysitter, they would call my little sister, and she went over there and babysitted a few times for him. And so, yeah, you know, we had a real good connection there. Since then, over the last 8 years, we usually link up probably once a year, talk football, play around the golf, you know, and just kind of share coaching ideas, philosophies, things like that. You know, I'm a big believer in him, and, you know, the opportunity to come here and be a part of his leadership was just an extraordinary opportunity.
How competitive were those golf games?
Well, neither one of us is very, very good, but they were competitive for sure.
Yeah,
so we always would find a way to compete. Whether it was a couple other guys and we're playing a scramble, or if it was me head-to-head, one-on-one with them. But yeah, neither one of us really have any business playing a high-level game of golf.
Hey, but the competitive juices flow no matter what.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
You're probably competing to who parks first in the parking lot every
That's
morning.
exactly right.
Yeah.
No, he's one of the most competitive people I know.
You settled in yet? I mean, you starting to get settled in down here?
Yeah, you know, so just kind of tell you a little background, like my last month, we played in the Sugar Bowl on January 1st at Baylor, won that game. The very next morning at like 5 a.m. I flew to Eugene, was here on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, something like that, and then got married on the 7th.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, so we spent a quick 3-day honeymoon in Lake Tahoe. Finished up there and met Coach Lanning here right at the day after the national championship game on that Tuesday. And, yeah, I've been on the road, Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, California, recruiting the last, you know, however many weeks it's been. And, yeah, so I guess now finally getting to get settled into to Eugene, but it's been awesome.
That's great. That's cool. I mean, I know that it's always tough every time you go through a transition, right?
Right.
And you guys are doing it during the hot period of recruiting. And so with that in mind, what do you look for in a recruit? It's a simple but obvious question.
Yeah, I think, you know, for me, personally, I think there's a talent level, obviously. You know, when you're at one of the premier and elite programs in the country, there is a talent level. You have to, you know, be able to run this fast, or you got to be able to jump this high, or you got to be able, you know what I mean? You have to be an athlete. You know, I couldn't have played at Oregon. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, I'll be honest with myself on that. But other than that, like I'm really looking for elite competitive young men. Young men that are not just great football players, but they're have elite character. They take care of their business off the field. You know, I like to say how you do anything is how you do everything. So I think some of the best young men that I've coached or developed have, you know, used that type of motto, not just on the football field, but through the course of their life and their everyday actions.
As we're sitting here talking on signing day, so far 4 DBs signed by you guys. And
absolutely.
Again, I know that things could still come, so just stay up to date, all right? We don't want to get any angry NCAA compliance emails, so you know, you and me both.
Right.
But 4 DBs coming in. We'll see if they end up playing for you in the safeties room. What do you like about this group? You feel like you added to the depth in your room? Yeah,
speed. Yeah, number one thing that jumps out. You look at a couple of these guys, they're 10.5, 10.6, 10.7 guys in the 100 meters. They run track for their team. You got a couple of guys that last year were tops in the 200 in the country. You know, I think Kamari Terrell might have had the fastest 400 time in the nation last year.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, and so I think you look at just as far as size, length, those measurables jump out, and then you know, combine that with the speed that they have. That's the thing that really jumps out to me. You know, and then, you know, Trajan Williams is just a ball player, man. Ball hawk, will attack the ball in the air, you know, tracks it well.
Portland guy, too.
Portland guy, great kid. Really, you know, really enjoyed getting to meet, you know, his mom and you know, get to know more about his background this last month. And, yeah, I mean, I think what I said earlier about really competitive kids, right, and then also being really great people off the field. Some of these young men, the 4DBs especially that we just talked about, phenomenal families, phenomenal kids, really good students, and then they're unbelievable athletes.
You know, we've had the chance. So those of you who are with us now, we haven't talked a ton about the individuals, but we do have film of a lot of these young men that you guys have been recruiting. So are your eyes just like burned by watching video by the time you're done with this recruiting trail?
Well, yes and no. I enjoy it quite a bit, but yeah, every now and then, you know, as you watch guys back to back to back to back, you kind of have to take a little bit of a break and say, okay, you know what I mean? But yeah, we really thoroughly enjoy it, to be honest. I think the evaluation process is a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. What's your defensive philosophy? I mean, how you want to go about coaching this room?
Yeah, so for me, you know, I think in today's game and today's age, you know, you definitely have to be multiple in what you do. And so I think more than schematics, I think number one, you got to have relentless effort to play great defense. I think your effort and your speed and, you know, running to the football can take care of a lot. You know, I think number two, you know what I mean? I think ball excellence, right? So what does that mean? You know, I think turnovers, sacks, right? Things where you're attacking the ball and affecting the quarterback, right? I think those statistics really correlate to wins and losses. And then I would say probably third, you know, I would say kind of the power of the unit, the brotherhood, you know, the fact that, hey, I play and give everything I got, you know, because of the man next to me and vice versa. I think if you can establish that, there's a lot of different cool schemes and cool plays that you can run, but, you know, they don't matter as much as those other three things that I just mentioned.
Man, that's cool. I got to tell you, I could talk to you for an hour.
Yeah.
Matt Powledge, thanks for being here, buddy. And, hey, congratulations again.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Welcome
hey, I
to
appreciate
Oregon.
y'all a bunch.
We're glad that you're here. Co-defensive coordinator, safeties coach Matt Powledge, kind enough to join us. From one defensive backs coach to another, Demetrice Martin's going to join us, cornerbacks passing game coordinator. It's our National Signing Day special presented to you by McDonald's, your locally owned and operated McDonald's. Coach, the floor is yours, sir. So we're getting ready to go from coach to coach. Still Coach Martin. Coach Tuioti is going to join us. Coach Mehringer, Locklyn, and then Don Johnson and Marshall Malchow are all on the horizon here as we continue to talk on National Signing Day. Coach, we haven't gotten the chance to meet yet, and I'm going to ask you a question that I think you have probably been asked. I'm going to wager 1,000 times in your career to start. I'm Joey Mack, so it's great to meet you, Coach.
Good to meet you.
Demetrice Martin, but everybody doesn't call you Coach Martin for the most part, right?
No, not too many people call me Coach Martin.
So you're always Coach Meat.
I always go by Coach Meat.
How did that become your name? You got to tell us.
It is a big time, long time history. My younger sister coming up, she's 4 years younger than me, and she always used to try to tell on me.
Okay.
But could never say my name.
Okay.
So she would always say Meat because it was in my name. Demetrice.
Right.
Meat. My brother Meat. Dad, Meat. Mom, Meat. You know, so when she would try to tell on me, and then that name just stuck.
So it's been here ever since.
Been here ever since.
You know, I have a good colleague of ours, Todd Miles, who you maybe have met. He works at Oregon Sports Information.
Yep.
Todd is famous for one saying that you cannot nickname yourself.
Oh,
you didn't nickname
I
yourself.
I didn't do it myself.
So,
no,
you
yeah.
know, it just sticks. It sticks.
Yeah.
I've been asking everybody this, Coach. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself to the fans. What's your 2-minute life story?
2-minute life story. Pasadena, California. My name is Demetrice Martin, born and raised in the city of Roses. Very proud of that. Come from a heritage of what we like to say ballers.
Sure.
in the Rose City. Football all my life. Baseball was my first sport. So
what position?
Shortstop.
Oh,
I played a little shortstop, so home of Jackie Robinson.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was a big time for us and that type of thing back in the day. And, man, I love ball. I think I was God chosen to do this. My path that took me to coaching was probably uncanny of a lot of others, but maybe still the same. So my story was was, like I said, very short and very simple. One of my old-time coaches kind of seen me out and about in the streets, and after I finished playing football, and was like, hey, man, won't you come take a ride with me? And then we walked onto the middle of a high school practice field, and he said, hey, he yelled out the head coach's name, hey, Coach G. He said, hey, what's up? He was like, this is our new DB and wide receiver coach. I said, what? He said, you want to make some money, don't you? I was like, yeah. He was like, well, go in that ball bag over there and get those cones and get those balls out of there and teach those dudes what you know. And ever since then, I've been coaching.
And you fell in love with it.
Fell in love with it, yeah.
So that was the moment.
That was the moment, yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. So now, fast forward ahead. Tell us about why you took this job. Why'd you want to come to Oregon and work with Coach Lanning?
Well, man, I mean, it's one of the premier spots in the Pac-12 or in the nation, for that matter. You know, always admired Oregon from afar, going against it being a opponent, that type of thing. But then with Coach Lanning and stuff that he was doing, I've always worked really well with defensive head coaches.
Sure.
That was some things that, some guys always say, you better be careful who you work with, because if they coach your position, you're going to have hell and high water trying to, that type of thing. Well, with me, I kind of gravitate towards that. So the stuff that Coach Lanning was doing, putting together, the staff that he was putting together, it was an opportunity I couldnn't pass up.
So how far back does your relationship with Coach Lanning go?
Well, we crossed paths because he was at Arizona State, and I think I was, we were all Pac-12
guys.
coaches, and so, I'm a Pac-12 lifer. This is my sixth stop in the Pac-12. So, I've been FC, UCLA, UW, Arizona, Colorado, and now I'm an Oregon Duck. So.
I was going to ask you about that. I'm glad that you brought it up. You're, I think, if my math is correct, the most tenured Pac-12 coach on the staff, which is saying something, because there's a lot of coaches with Pac-12 connections. How valuable is that experience, having known the recruiting trail, all of those things?
Well, I got to be honest. It's something I probably kind of take a little bit for granted, because I guess it's me. And it's just the way of the land. But bringing that experience and knowing, like you said, the way of the land and the recruiting layouts and things and such like that, and having the relationships with these longtime coaches in different spots and stuff like that, relationships plays a big part no matter what school you at. So if you got good relationships and all that stuff, you always be able to target and bring in good talent.
We were just talking with Coach Powledge about the 4 DBs that have been signed so far for this class.
Mm-hmm.
What jumps off the page at you with these DBs, and tell us about them? And Scott's actually got some footage as you talk about them.
Oh, sweet.
Too.
Well, good. I mean, most of these guys have a lot of length, what I like, and can run really well. I think this group is going to be very versatile, and they're all going to be primed and ready to give us some instant impact, whether it be on special teams or nickel package, dime package, the many packages that, Coach Tosh and, Coach Lanning are going to want to run. We have enough athletes to kind of spread around the field and get it done.
I'm going to ask you about an individual because he jumps off the page from the recruiting rankings, and that's Jaleel Tucker. 6 feet, 180 pound, a freshman out of San Diego, California.
Yeah, well, Tucker, he's all go. He's all go, no breaks. He's a guy that has great body control, good ball skills. He has strong football intelligence where he understands what's going to happen before it happens. Those are the type of things that we look for in guys. Not to mention, he can pick them up and put them down. He's a guy that can go. He has some good top-end speed, and he's fearless out there.
And then you go from one Jaleel, but different spelling, to another. And Jaleel Florence, defensive back, 6'2", 180-pound freshman from Chula Vista, California.
And it's crazy because they have the same name, different spelling, but you could say the same attributes.
Really?
This guy can run. He has some good length. He has a lot of contact courage. He has some good football intelligence, being that he's really a youngster in the game, being that I think this might be only his third year playing football. So it's really impressive to see the stuff that he knows, and just getting to know him better during the recruiting process, watching how he watches film and he studies and how he works out and those type of things. This kid he's shaping up to be very special.
You brought in a transfer in your position group as well. Tell us about Christian Gonzalez. What are Duck fans going to see?
They're going to see Gonzo is a quiet assassin.
Really?
He won't say too much, but he will put forth his wrath. He's a good long cover man. Very, very exceptional up in press. Good change of direction. He runs really well. You just can't never tell because he doesn't panic. He's so calm. He's so patient. Guys won't run past him, but he'll be running right there with them in their hip pocket. So it'll be really fun to watch Gonzo switch up the colors and be a Duck and watch what he brings.
You know, if I could follow up, it seems like he's a guy, and from watching Pac-12 games myself, that he can come off the edge too and really punish you.
Yeah. He's a guy that's not shy of contact. He's a guy that he will bring, like if we bring corner cats or corner blitzes, he's a guy that, you know, he's going to have the first one with his hands up. Let's go.
So what's next for you? I mean, you're going to get settled in here in Eugene. You got spring ball coming up, but what's the schedule ahead for you?
Well, the schedule ahead for me is what you just said, just to get settled in here. I'm up to my neck in boxes. I'm trying to get my garage cleared out so I can park my truck in the garage.
Sure.
You know, those little things like that, just getting all my surroundings set so I can be comfortable. I'm always about 5 minutes late because I don't know which box to open up to find what I'm looking for.
I understand that. That. Well, Coach Meat, thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
It's great to meet you. You're welcome anytime. Enjoy the rest of the day. It's a celebration.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, Coach Meat.
Go Ducks.
Cornerbacks, passing game coordinator. We're going to continue on the defensive side of the ball, talking with the defensive line coach. Thank you again, Coach. Tony Tuioti is going to join us. It is our National Signing Day special brought to you by McDonald's, your locally owned and operated McDonald's. You can get any size premium roast coffee for just $1. And I mean, look, that's what we did today. Coach, the floor is yours whenever you're ready, because we're just rotating through all the coaches. Drew Mehringer, tight ends coach, coming up in a little while. Carlos Locklyn, running backs coach, as well as Don Johnson, our director of player personnel, director of recruiting, and Marshall Malchow, who is the chief of staff. He's going to join us here coming up in just a little while. And we've got a lot more to come, some other clips of players. And GoDucks.com/signing day is your headquarters for everything that we're going through, the signee bios, the events coming up later today. The Oregon Signing Day headquarters for you is GoDucks.com/signing day, where you can meet all of the signees, as we'll talk a little bit more defense. Coach Lanning, of course, a defensive guy. We've all talked about that, and now we're going to get the view from the man in the trenches, as Tony Tuioti is going to join us. Coach, first of all, it's great to meet you. I'm Joey Mack.
Let's go. What's up, Joey?
Thanks for being here. You haven't yet gotten a chance to come into the studio. Welcome. I promise the lights don't get that hot.
I walked in here with the jacket, had to take it off. I might have to take this shirt off. It's hot in here.
Hey, you know, it's funny because when there are days when it's just me sitting here in the studio with Scott, right?
Yeah.
And coaches will come in and they'll go, God, you guys keep it cold in here.
Yeah.
But it's amazing because when you get like 4 people sitting in here, suddenly it's 10 degrees warmer.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I get
it. A little uncomfortable, but that's how we like quarterbacks to feel.
Well, I like that. I like that.
Yes, sir.
That's well done. So I've been asking everybody this, Coach. Introduce yourself. Tell us your 2-minute life story. How'd you get here?
2-minute life story. It might be a little bit longer than 2 minutes,
all right.
But 2 minutes, I'll keep it under 2 minutes. Tony Tuioti. How I got here. Coach Lanning, Coach Tosh Lupoi reached out to me. Actually, it was like the night before my son won the National Junior College Championship in Arkansas. Yes, sir. So drove to from Lincoln, Nebraska, drove down to Arkansas, watched my son's national championship game, junior college. We won it. Wake up the next morning, there's a text message from Coach Lanning, Coach Tosh Lupoi, talk some ball.
All right.
And we drove down in a 15-passenger van. On my drive back up to Lincoln after the game, Tosh calls me and said, hey, man, do you got 10, 20 minutes to talk to Coach Lanning? I said, man, I'm driving in a 15-passenger van with my family right now. I said, all right, I'm going to make my next stop at a gas station. I'm going to get my family out so that they can go and shop and hang around. And we had a great conversation, and it just took off from there. So I'm so happy, so blessed to be here.
So that was a quick turn then for you, right?
Yes, quick turn.
But
that's college football for you too.
It is, you know. And I was going to ask you about that because you've been through some transitions and you're going through one right now. And just what's the strategy for handling that stuff? I mean, it seems like it's a lot for you guys.
It changes from situation to situation,
Sure.
But I'm just so glad that my wife is an expert at it right now. And I got a great family. I got 7 kids. Family's really, really important to us. 7 kids. So from 2000 to 2010, the Lakers did a great job. They had great runs. You know, they talked about dynasties of the New England Patriots. We built our own dynasty from 2000 to 2010 with 7 kids.
I love that.
So 21 to 11, we've been blessed. It's been an awesome journey. Our kids have been resilient in all of our moves. And you know, the blessing of having a big family when we move from city to city is like they got their best friends with them.
Yeah.
And it's been awesome. So
that's pretty cool.
Yep.
So why Oregon? What was it about the job?
Why not Oregon?
I love that.
You know, just being with Coach Lanning, Coach Tosh Lupoi, going to play elite defense. Being here at Oregon, you got an opportunity to win the Pac every year, get yourself in position to be in the playoffs, and win national championships. So Oregon's a national brand. Shoot, I was recruiting out in Florida last week, and I'm walking there with the O, and everybody just sees the O. Bang, Oregon's in the house. And Florida had just left, and they saw Florida, and they saw the Jumpman apparel there. And then now they see the big brand walking in and said, there's Oregon. That's a real brand. That's a real Nike school. So anyways, the brand is strong. The fan base is unbelievable. But you can win championships here, and that's why I wanted to be associated with that.
I love it. I love it. All right, so playing defensive line. We're sitting here on National Signing Day. What do you look for in your defensive linemen? What do you want to see?
Look for elite competitors, guys that are violent, that are physical, guys that can control the line of scrimmage, and then guys that can transition and affect the quarterback. We're talking about affecting the quarterback. We're not only talking about sacks and strip sack fumbles. We're talking about batting the ball, pressuring the quarterback. So there's a lot of different ways to affect the game in the pass game. And we're looking for those type of guys. Elite competitors, looking for guys that have passion for the game. There's a big difference between having passion for the game, guys that like it, they like the retweets and all those type of things, and guys that love it. So we got to do our due diligence and kind of find and sift out like who's the guys that, are the imposters and the guys that are real guys. Excuse
me to interrupt, but the guys that are here, that are already on campus, I want to ask you about in a moment. But first, of course, it's signing day, so that means we're going to ask you about the guys that are committed to you. So I'll ask you about some individuals. We'll start with Sir Mel, 6'4", 310-pound, out of Henderson, Nevada, a freshman coming in, and I think fans are pretty excited. I think you're pretty excited.
Yeah, I'm very excited about Sir Mills. He's a guy that can dominate inside. He's a guy that's going to demand forehands. What I mean by that, he's got to have two guys that block him. If they try to single him, he's going to win those. He's real big, physical inside, and then he's a guy that can also collapse the pocket for us. So he brings us that big body presence that we need. Great personality. He was here last week with his family. He was behind the DJ system. He loves all that. I mean, just his personality is infectious, and I can't wait for him to be here to add to what we got already.
Ben Roberts, another defensive lineman coming in, 6'4", 290-pound freshman from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Love Ben Roberts. I tried to recruit him at the last school I was at. It was a dogfight all the way down to the end, and I'm so glad that Dan Lanning won.
Yeah.
And so he was one of my top recruits also coming in my last school. He's a guy that's very physical. He's got very heavy hands in the run game. Love Ben. He's got position flex to help us out. He can play inside. He can play outside as a 5 technique. Line him in front of a tight end and beat up a tight end. And tight ends can't block anyways, but that's just how I feel as a defensive line coach. But I love Ben. I love what he can bring to us. He's also got a great personality, very infectious, true team guy, selfless guy. You got to be selfless to play defensive line. We're going to try to take 2 blocks when we can, let the linebackers go make plays. We're going to try to affect the quarterback and let the DBs get interceptions. So those type of guys I'm looking for, guys that are team-first guys, and he's definitely that guy for us.
You talked about how he has position versatility. How important is that across the board for your group? How much do you want that versatility in the D-line?
I think it's very important. I mean, the more you can do for our defense, the more we can leave you in when we're talking about different type of packages. So try to find those type of guys, that are not only base down guys that are also guys that can play third down for us. Any type of combination defensive lineman type players, like we want those guys.
How do you feel about the group that you have? Tell us about the group that you have, even though I know you haven't gotten a chance to get to know them a ton, but what do you like about what you have?
Yeah, well, I love our group. Last night we're hanging out, we're eating dinner, getting to know them. I'm excited about the guys that we have. We got Brandon Dorless, obviously, guys that have experience that have played for us. Popo Amavai, I mean, that's another guy that we're going to have to lean on for leadership, and be able to help us out. And then we got some young guys too, that haven't played much yet. I'm really looking forward to working with them. Makiel Afaese, we got Keanu Williams, like those type of guys, Swavo Poti, that can add depth to what we're doing. And these young guys that are coming in are just going to help us get better.
I have to ask you, too, about a transfer in Sam Taimani. Tell us about what he brings to the table.
Taki brings us a guy with a lot of playing experience. A guy that's an alpha male, that's physical inside. He was a guy that was being recruited by a lot of other schools when he hit the portal. So I'm just glad that we have Taki. He's a guy that also commands forehands. He's a guy, if you single him, he's going to win those type of plays. And he can also push the pocket and collapse pocket for us, as you see there, as he's hitting the quarterback there at Oregon State. And, I'm really excited to be able to work with him, too, as well.
I got to start calling him Taki.
Taki.
Yeah. That's the official name.
Taki, yeah. He needs some Taki chips now. Start sending them to him. NIL.
You have so many of the top-rated defensive linemen that from the Pac-12 over the last few years are now on this roster. Just That's a level of excitement for you.
Yeah,
right?
really excited to work with those guys. I mean, it's hard to find guys that are talented, but guys that can bring some great value with experience. That's a combination that you love to have as a defensive line coach. And we got two of them that are all Pac-12 conference players in Dorless and Popo, and I'm really excited to work with those guys and see what they can bring to us.
So I got to go back in time with you for a second because I learned that Coach Klemm and you were old roommates.
Oh boy, yeah.
Back in the day. So that relationship goes back a long time, and now you guys are going to be competing against each other, D-line, O-line. I mean, that's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah,
for you.
no, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about it. That's one of my best friends. You never know in this profession how life works with this journey, but I'm just glad that we have the opportunity to be together again, and I'm just so proud of him, as just a good friend to see where he's come along and being able to have a chance to work with him and then compete every day with him is going to be fun and exciting. And both of our boys are at the same high school. So it's just awesome to be able to have our families together and be able to work with him again.
You still go against each other in technique practices? I mean, who's winning in the trenches, huh?
Is that a question?
Well, I guess, okay. That answered that question then, didn't it? That answered that question. Coach, I'm curious, too, just your philosophy on defense at the larger picture. The defensive line is one, as you've been talking about, and we always kind of joke about this in the trenches. Like, you have to win in the trenches, but then it's the linebacker that gets the tackle. It's the DB that gets the interception. You guys are a bunch of selfless guys in that room, aren't you?
Yeah, you have to be, and it's all about the team first. So the guys in our room, they have to be selfless. They got to know that their plays are going to come within the scheme of the defense, and everybody's got their 1/11th to do. So if everybody does that, we'll be fine on defense. So you got to have that mentality. You got to be team first guy. You got to be a selfless guy. And everybody's going to be able to win at the end of the day when everybody does their job. So we got guys in our room that are that type of guys, and then we recruit those type of guys, and we can be successful at the end of the day when it's all about the team.
I love it. Coach, thanks for being here.
Thank you, brother.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me here.
Enjoy the celebration. Go Ducks. Thanks for being a Duck.
Go Ducks. Appreciate it.
Tony Tuioti, thanks for joining us. Defensive line coach. And now we're going to go from defense over the last few coaches now to offense. Drew Mehringer is going to join us, tight ends coach. It's our National Signing Day special brought to you by McDonald's, your locally owned and operated McDonald's. We got coffee this morning, actually, thanks to our friends at McDonald's with our McCafe. Drew Mehringer is here. I have not gotten a chance to meet you, Coach. So let me first just say, hey, Joey Mack.
Nice to meet you,
Good to meet you, and thanks for being here. So are you settled in? Are you comfortable in Eugene yet? Have you been here for more than a week?
Shoot, no. It's been quite the transition for my family and I, but it's been great. It's awesome to be a Duck. It's one of those places that you kind of like look at from afar and you just think, man, what would it be like to be at that place and work for that institution? And then the call comes and even my wife was like, I cannot believe this is actually happening. So we're
cool.
really excited.
That's cool. So I've been asking everybody this. Tell us about yourself. Introduce yourself to the fans if you could. Your 2-minute life story, if you will.
I am a kid born in Texas. I got hurt playing when I was a quarterback at Rice. So I started coaching my freshman year, student assistant, and then God's been good to me and took me all over the country. I feel like a modern-day gypsy moving around. So it's been awesome. I've just had my first child.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It's pretty exciting. So trying to figure that out, a new job and a move, and it's been fun.
And here you are.
Yeah, hanging out with you guys now.
Well, thank you. Thanks for being here. Welcome. This is the studio. It's
nice.
We do a lot of stuff from in here. So thanks for taking the time. But let's go back, if we could, a little bit, and just your relationship with Coach Lanning. Tell fans about how long does that go back, and what's he like to work for so far?
So this is my first time to get to know and work with Coach Lanning. So he's one of the, you can see like what they did defensively this past year, and he's one of those guys in the industry, right? It's like, hey, I got to spend some time with that guy, or I got to find a way to ask that guy a couple questions. And so even a chance to get on an interview with him was pretty cool, and hear what he had to say. He's really, really intelligent. He's extremely organized, and he has a phenomenal memory. So I'm excited to be around him and get to know him. He's got a lot of juice, a lot of energy. So he's got all of the characteristics, in my opinion, to be really good at what he does. So.
Who's influenced your coaching philosophy? Like, who are some of your mentors over the years?
I had a chance to work for Urban Meyer for 2 years. He was a tremendous, and he was a tremendous influence on the way that I thought about the game, and he is a relentless competitor. So I've been very thankful for him. I worked for Tom Herman for a number of years, like 5 different stops. And then there's a few people I think from afar that you look at. I think Mike Tomlin is somebody that I've looked at and said, hey, like that's a person that I'd like to get a chance to be around. And he's got a former player of mine that's working for him right now, and so getting a chance to be around those guys is pretty cool. So there's a few of those types of guys, but the people that have directly influenced my philosophy have been those. Yeah, probably those the most.
And you've been a coordinator too, and so I want to ask you about that. Just like the understanding of a total offense, how much does that help you now that you're coaching just tight ends, just having that understanding of how everything works?
I think it's knowing what you're doing is great, but knowing why you're doing it is the critical component to success, right? It's not that whatever even your job right now, right? It's not that we're just interviewing somebody, right? It's like, what are we trying to get out of this interview? Why are we doing this? What within what context or what parameters do we need to get this done? And I think that's critically important to helping. If you can explain those things to the player, I think it's helpful to get them to understand the urgency necessary to execute their job responsibility, right, and how it relates to the man next to them, and building that also builds a relationship with them, right? Hey, I understand the problems that you have now, right, and here's how I can compensate for any type of weaknesses or situations that become challenging.
Your tight end position, let's start there before I go a little bigger picture for you. What do you like with the group that you've seen so far? I know you're still getting to know them, but what do you like with the tight end group?
So we had dinner last night. It was fun. They're a good group. That they're pretty low maintenance, which I think any coach likes.
Sure.
Golly, we've all had those ones in the past, right? Like that put gray hairs on you, and I'm not old enough to have them, but I got them. But they're pretty low maintenance. They're an intelligent group. They got a lot of energy, and they interact really well together, right? They're pretty cohesive. So from that standpoint, that's healthy in terms of a position group that has to play a lot of players, right? That gets amplified a lot at times at quarterback, right? Like how cohesive is that group because only one guy plays. Maybe every now and then another guy jumps in the game. But, in our room, right, we all have to help each other, right, because multiple guys play and multiple guys have to have roles. And so the cohesiveness of that room has been very, very encouraging.
I'm curious always too to talk with tight end coaches about the evolution of that position, because I feel like that position, in my opinion, has probably changed the most in the last, maybe over the course of the entire history of football, probably over the last few years. I mean, you guys are recruiting guys that can be wide receivers and offensive linemen in the same time, right?
Right. Well, and like in our position, right, not everybody does the same thing, right? Like Coach Locklyn's not going to ask all of the backs to do the exact same thing, right? So you can recruit a few different body types to do different things for you. Are we looking for the 6th offensive lineman? Not really. We're looking for a guy that can do that, right? That can create problems in the run game in the box, right? But we're also looking for guys that can stretch the field vertically and make plays. Travis Kelce has been the most visible representation of that component, in recent football or recent years of football. So, and there's a few others, right? Like you look at the guy at the 49ers, Juszczyk. He's done a phenomenal job, and he plays fullback for them, but he does a lot of those same things. And so now, right, you have to be able to do a lot of different skills. You have to be pretty versatile.
I always think, too, about, like, the depth of a tight end group. I mean, what you're talking about with having that versatility, depth ends up being really important.
Depth is critical, I think, for any position, right, because, at its core, it's a violent sport. People get tired, number one, if you're playing as hard as you can, right, and then people get hurt. So I think depth is critically important for the longevity and the success of the team. And what my guys can do on special teams and things like that, I think is really, really important as well. But you got to have a lot of guys. You don't want to have so many guys that you can't coach everybody, or can't give everybody roles. But you want to have enough guys where they don't have to bear the entire brunt of the game in itself.
Sure. Talking about today as signing day, you mentioned a little bit there, but what do you look for in a recruit? Like what makes a guy jump off the film and the page to you?
So, right, there's always, like, prerequisites, right? It's like, hey, you can't be 5'5" and play tight end at Oregon. It's no offense to the 5'5" tight ends out there, right? But there's going to be some guys that are going to be a lot bigger and a lot longer than you, right? Arm length is going to matter, right? So there's going to be some prerequisites to size. And then I think, besides the stuff that are like tangibles, right, that they can say, okay, this guy's not big enough, fast enough, strong enough, right, or he is all of these things. I think the most important thing is, are they a competitor and are they a winner, right? Because winner, like, if you've ever been on a team that doesn't win, right, there's a culture of that it's kind of okay, right, and that's really hard to. It takes a while to change that within people. So we want to try and find people that are winners or natural competitors, right, that take their team and make it better. Michael Jordan, when you watch The Last Dance, like grabbed the team and was like, we're going to the championship. I don't care.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so we're looking for guys like that the environment or the circumstance is not too big, right? And that they're going to go find a way to win or get their job done regardless of the circumstance. And so I'm always looking for that kind of guy because that kind of guy isn't afraid to be, in front of 100,000 people or whatever, in the conference championship. So
that's cool. I got to tell you, Coach, I could talk to you for an hour. But thanks for being here. This has been great to get to know you. Enjoy the day. Welcome to Eugene. Go Ducks. Thanks for being a Duck.
Thank you. Go Ducks.
All right. Drew Mehringer, tight ends coach. We're going to go from tight ends, and then he told you Coach Locklyn is here. We're going to talk a little running backs. We've also got Don Johnson, Director of Player Personnel, Director of Recruiting coming up. Marshall Malchow, Chief of Staff for this Oregon football team coming up as well. National Signing Day Special. The floor is yours, Coach Locklyn. We'll get into it. It's brought to you by our friends at McDonald's, bringing you the coffee and refreshments for your morning. And so, Coach, I don't know if there was any coffee left for you, or maybe you haven't had any coffee over the course of the last few days, but I have a feeling that you probably have. As Coach Locklyn will join us here, the headset is officially backwards. There we go. So, I got to tell you, Coach, thanks for being here. I know that you guys have about a million things to do, actually probably like a billion things to do. So I just thank you for taking the time, and welcome to Eugene. How's it going so far?
It's going good. Anywhere where I get a chance to pour into young men and meet new people and pour into people, I'm happy. So.
Well, I'm Joey Mack. Great to meet you. Thanks for being with us. I'm going to start with your 2-minute life story, and then, as you can imagine, I've got multiple follow-ups. Tell us about yourself a little bit. How'd you get here?
2 minutes, that'll be too short of a time for me. But I call myself the walk-on coach. Just a long story goes in there. I actually just walked into this profession. A guy named Josh Storms gave me a open invite into coming in this profession at Memphis, and started from there. Then Mike Norvell kind of let me on in the door, and that was 5 years ago.
And then here you are.
Yeah.
You said 2 minutes would be too short. You got about another 90 seconds of the floor, man.
I'm just giving you the short version of it. It'll take too long to give you the long version.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, though, in terms of your coaching style. I mean, how has your coaching style developed, and what is your coaching philosophy?
I'm a passionate person about this game. I love everything about the game, especially the position of running back. I am an aggressive coach in that manner. Don't use foul language, but I get into the guys like I want to. Kids take on my personality. I don't coach soft batch cookies.
Sure.
I don't. I believe kids take on the personality of the guy that coached them. Ain't nothing about me soft. So I work hard, and I expect my kids to take on the same personality I have.
You talk about that, like it sounds so simple to say, but you guys truly are leaders of men in a lot of ways. Where does your passion for that come from, Coach?
I'm just serving the young men, serving the coaches that I work with. That's a big part of this profession. A lot of guys lose that mindset. The guy that I came up under who has a big influence on me as a coach, Mike Norvell, there at Florida State. I just took on a lot of things that being around him, just serving the players. That's the most important thing, is serving the coach. My goal is to help Coach Lanning and Coach Dillingham achieve whatever goal that they have.
Why'd you come to Oregon?
I came to Oregon because of Coach Lanning and Coach Dillingham. Those guys, they met me early on in my journey, on this walk-on journey into this profession there at Memphis. They were there when I first started off, and Coach Lorig. All of us was together at Memphis. So Coach Lanning and Coach Dillingham, one of the reasons why I came here.
Talking about your philosophy and all that, it's, of course, signing day. So what do you look for in a running back? What makes them jump off the page to you?
I tell all running backs, there's three things that I look for. Number one, as a running back, you got to be able to own the ball. And I grade those things out when I'm watching film. If you can't own the ball, you can't play for me. Next thing is, can you initiate contact under your own terms? and can you avoid contact on their own terms? It's little things that I look for at that position, and it's just my belief. I think it's one of the worst coach positions in all of football.
Really?
Yes, I do. I played the position, and that's the way I feel, and I'm so passionate about coaching the position, the little details of things. I'm coaching backs. I love the position. So those are the things I look for in backs, and I try to pour into my backs every day.
Well, I followed you on social media, as have a lot of our fans, and I think that you and Coach Dillingham, if, in my humble opinion, you're probably having a little bit of a competition of who's got the best social media game right now. And I love it, Coach. I absolutely love it. One of the things that I know you talked about, and you mentioned there was ball security, and just how important that is. Just it's little things like that. I feel like it's such a detail-oriented group that you're coaching, it sounds like.
Well, the thing about it is, with the ball security thing, it doesn't matter until it matters.
Sure.
When a guy put the ball on the ground, it's too late then, and I put that on the coach. That's something that has to be, discipline has to be poured into the young men every day. And that's the first thing I talk about is owning the ball. So that's a discipline thing.
One of the things that I've also seen on social media, Coach, is your impact getting to know some of the former Oregon running backs and some of those connections. Just tell us about that and why that was so important to you.
I think the pass is important. For me as a running back coach being here at this great university, Coach Campbell is the standard. I know many guys followed after him, but for me, for a man to get here in 1983, to stay into 2016, and know the history of where he came from, his journey here, he's the standard for me of what it is to be a coach and a running back coach here at this university. And then the running backs that he had, come on, man. Yep. He had some great ones. He had like 21 1,000-yard rushers. Mm-hmm. And that's the standard. And that's the standard that I'm going to hold myself to, and the backs that we're getting here, the backs that we have here in the room, the backs that we're trying to get here. I'm going to hold them to that standard.
Connecting to some of those former players, too, just how valuable is that for the guys that you're currently coaching, currently in the room?
It's big. It's big for me because I'm a fan of the position. So sure. I know the guys that I've reached out to, I knew everything about them. So I'm a fan of the game. So, especially at that position. So, it's been big. Having them guys their support, saying they will come back and talk to the guys, that's been big.
You're still getting to know some of your new running backs that you're coaching now. But I do want to ask you, just what's your assessment of the group right now? What do you like about your guys that you have on your roster?
They have been open to talking to me. I guess when we get on the field full time, I better get a better assessment then. Like I said, every guy has been coached different, and I coach my way, so they're going to have to learn that way. But overall, good group, very respectable young men. I'm excited about working with them. One
running back in so far as we sit here live at 10 o'clock in the morning. One running back in for you guys so far, Jordan James, 5'10", 205-pound freshman. Tell us about the man out of Tennessee.
Jordan is a really good kid, first of all. Very soft-spoken kid, but he plays with a chip on his shoulder. All the things I look for in the back: great contact balance, short area burst, able to move through interior traffic, great vision, good offhand punch. The things I look for in the back, this kid displays. I think we got a hell of a back, a hell of a young man, and I look forward to getting him on campus real soon to work with him. But you're talking about a kid he's a big kid for one thing. He's about 5'10", about 210. And I am excited about getting this kid here to Eugene.
I hear from a lot of coaches and have heard from a lot of coaches over the years that the biggest maybe jump from high school to college is pass protection. Do you agree with that? Is that one of the biggest things you have to coach once they're here at the college level?
Yes, but pass protection come down to, does a young man have the will and the heart to protect? Mm-hmm. Then it's on the coach to be able to teach him the schematics of pass pro. Whether he's blocking 4 down, whether he's blocking 3 down, or recognizing different fronts, that's on the coach. But if the young man has the will and the heart and the passion to pass protect and keep the quarterback clean, he can do it. I had 2 kids, freshmen last year at Western Kentucky. They gave up 0 sacks. Mm-hmm. Number one, I challenged them, but every day I go into work, I challenge myself to be the very best. And that's something that I hold high standard for myself. I love working with the young guys. I love teaching them. So I hold myself to a high standard because I am a very competitive person, So I look at all the top running backs, coaches across the country, and no knock on them, but they motivate me, and I'm coming. With these young guys, we're coming.
I can just feel the passion in your voice, Coach, and I am curious on the bigger picture. Just that passion and the level of coaching, the teaching. You're really a teacher Like, do you have teachers in your background? I'm curious if you do.
I come from a long line of teachers in my family, but I've been around this game since I've been 3-4 years old.
Sure.
So this has just always been a love of mine. I truly love this game. You have people who's in love with the game. You have people who love the game. I'm both. Like, this is all I do. My wife tell people all the time, like, it's unfair. He's like he like I'm never off. Coach Lanning will tell you I don't sleep.
Yeah.
I do football 24/7. It's a lifestyle. It's not a hobby for me. This is what I breathe. I've been like that since I've been 3-4 years old there in Montgomery, Alabama. This is all I've known, and I got truly love the game. Like I said, I'm ultra competitive. I want to be the very best at what I do, and that's coaching backs.
Well, man, hey, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Go Ducks. Thanks for being a Duck. Carlos Locklyn, welcome to Eugene. Thanks for being here, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go Ducks.
I love it. I love it. It's a celebration day. Carlos Locklyn joining us, Oregon running back coach. And, man, I think a lot of fans, I can already see some of the comments are like, man, yeah, Coach Campbell. That is a great connection because Coach Campbell was here a long time. A lot of great running backs have come through here at Oregon. GoDucks.com/signing day. You can tune in for all the regional events, the online auction, virtual events, also meet the signees as they come in. And Don Johnson is here, ladies and gentlemen. One of the connections. Thank you, Coach, for being here. I think, if memory serves, this is the first time that Don Johnson has been with us in the Country Financial Studio. You heard him, though, on with Terry Johns during the radio pregame show. And so, Coach, God, it's great to see you. Normally, you and I are crossing paths on the practice field, and today we get a chance to have you in the studio. So just tell us about how things have gone.
It's been a wild wind. It's been crazy, but it's been good.
So I want to ask, because we heard a little bit about it on your interview with Terry, but I do want to ask to sort of revisit for fans here today. Tell us your 2-minute life story. Like, tell us about yourself, how you got here, and now staying here at Oregon.
My life is a lot longer than 2 minutes, but I grew up in a football family. Grew up in Southern California, played high school football, college football at Azusa Pacific University in Southern California, and got in the coaching world. Mm-hmm. I was a high school coach for a long period of time and got blessed with this opportunity and made the most of it.
What was it about moving from the high school ranks for this job? Why'd you want to make that jump? It
was Oregon. I mean, I've been coaching in the state of Oregon, and, this is the school I wanted to be at. Didn't want to be anywhere else pretty much, so the cards just fit together.
You're also the connection in a lot of ways from last year to this year with the new staff. Just what's that been like for you as kind of one of those you are like the glue guy.
It's been like Step Brothers the movie. I mean, it's been good, man. Coach Lanning came in with a great spark, and we got a house full of good guys, man, and it's going to be entertaining. And we closed this class out the right way, but next year we're going to be a problem in the 2023 class. I promise you that.
I love it. So I want to kind of take the bigger picture step back for a second. So official title, Director of Player Personnel, Director of Recruiting. Still remember, stay in tune with the Oregon football social media because we're live at 10 o'clock. And so, some things could change. The class could get a little bit bigger, and Coach Johnson and I don't want to get angry NCAA compliance emails. So, Coach, what was it like going through and to build out this class? Because not only were you the connection, as I said, between one staff and this staff, but you were kind of the connection to all these players and these recruits, weren't you?
It's a relationship-based business like anything else. And, we just were consistent in staying consistent, like, reaching out to the kids and the parents and just being true to them. Mm-hmm. They had a lot of things that were said by different staffs and different coaches. You got guys right now about to go to the NFL and leave staff. So just letting them know that we were going to be here and that, we were going to see it out and, just keeping that warm welcome and knowing that the place hasn't changed. The building hasn't. The people will, but the building hasn't.
Well, and I think it's such a powerful thing, right? Like you're part of something bigger than yourself. That's kind of what you're talking about here.
Exactly.
How about the way that you go about evaluating, Coach? I mean, it's a tough industry, man, to evaluate. I can hear the sigh. Like, man, I don't even know how to answer that question.
Well, it's different because you have to evaluate based off schematics. So, like, Coach Lanning's scheme is different than what we just had. So, we're looking for more long edge players and things like that. And, you just watch film, but you got to see them in person. Mm-hmm. You got to get true specs, true sizes, true lengths. It's a game of inches. And so we do a good job of just scoping everybody in the country. We feel like we have a national brand. We don't have to settle for less. So we want to see the best of the best and, try to get them here on campus.
Talking about that way you go about recruiting, how much did the pandemic change everything, Coach?
It changed it a lot. Our biggest thing is getting kids here because they know, like, when you see our facilities and get around the people in our building, it changes everything. And a lot of schools try to hate and make sure that doesn't happen. So being not able to do that, it was tough, but we still made the best of it.
What does an official visit look like from start to finish?
I can't tell you that, man. That's a surprise, man.
I love that. I love that.
It's different than anywhere else.
Yeah.
I think it's more. I think it's seeing the place, but also the city of Eugene's better than you think. If you haven't been here and you haven't, went around and ate at some of the restaurants and seen the way that people treat us and, the way the Ducks are represented, like this O is strong.
Yeah.
And a lot of people need to understand that. It's not like that W thing. It's real.
I love it. Don Johnson joining us. I think it's so interesting that we've heard over the years that, like, the biggest thing for Oregon, for you guys, is just to get someone on campus. How true is that statement here right now?
It's really true. I mean, it's if you realize that if you look at the city of LA and the city of Seattle and all these other places, they hate because they don't want that to happen.
Right.
Because when it does happen, we've done a great job, and we have Mr. Knight and a lot of good donors that put some beautiful things together. But we give kids a great advantage by some of the things we give them. Our sports science department,
sure,
our weight room, our facilities, but also the people inside. When they meet the people inside the building that know that we truly believe in these Ducks, it's a big deal.
Do you have like certain things that you always want to hit on when you bring in someone that you want to come play at Oregon? Like, do you have sort of the bullet points that you have to hit, or is it really always different for each individual?
If you want to win the Pac-12, come here, because we're going to win it.
All right. Good pitch. Good pitch. I like that, Don. Talking about another thing with kind of the bigger picture and just like player personnel and the way that you're stacking out. What's your philosophy on how do you fill certain gaps? I know it's schematic based, but how far ahead are you projecting these things?
You have roster numbers, and you have to definitely fill out your rosters the correct way. You also you have an 85 and a 110 and you got scholarship players and walk-ons, and you have to make sure that you have the depth created to have a competitive practice, but also have depth created for when injuries happen and stuff like that. And Coach Lanning brought in Marshall, who's really good at that too. So he's been a huge help, and it's being a general manager of a college football team.
Right. Now that's the next step. The next step, isn't it? I mean, I feel like that's kind of the direction that things have moved. This is maybe an obvious question. How much has social media influenced recruiting? What's your perspective on how it's changed, especially as you coming from being a high school coach and then doing it on this side at the college level?
It's tough, man. It's been positive and negative. We're in like 30 top threes of kids we've never talked to.
Right.
Because people want to be like, we beat the Ducks on that guy.
Right.
But then at the same time, it also shows some of the exposure of things we do, and the way our establishments are, and the personality of our coaches. So it's a hit and miss situation.
Yeah, and that one I think I'd imagine too, Coach. Like, name, image, and likeness has changed things too, right?
Oh yeah,
that's changed things a lot.
Yeah, and you got to think about us. We had name, image, and likeness, transfer portal, and all these things kick in, and we're one of the 10 schools that didn't have a coach when that happened the same year. So that's a big deal, and we still fought through that adversity, and we're doing right.
Well, it's a testament to you, if I could, and I think a lot of fans are going to say, like, man, yeah, that it's cool to see that. The transfer portal, I did want to ask you about that. Just how has that changed? The way that you manage things.
Well, there's some teams in the conference building a 7-on-7 team and thinking that it works. So I'll take that back. It's a good thing. It's a good and bad thing as well. You can go out and fill a spot real quick, and also kids that feel like they're not in the right situation or not, go look for a better situation. Right. So it's been interesting, to say the least. What's
the future of college football look like? I mean, what's the next thing that all of us are just going to have to get used to?
Hopefully a national championship in Eugene. That's what I feel it looks like.
That's a good answer. I'm going to leave it with that. Don Johnson, thank you, buddy. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. Yes,
this
sir.
is great. Director of Player Personnel, Director of Recruiting, Don Johnson, kind enough to join us. We're closing in on the end of this version of our Signing Day special. GoDucks.com/Signing Day has you covered. We're inside the Country Financial Studio, and Marshall Malchow is going to join us. We're coming up with the Chief of Staff for Oregon football. GoDucks.com/Signing Day is your home for everything related to the Ducks today. It is a celebration day. Regional events, an online auction, some virtual events, including this one. You can meet all the signees as they come in. And again, a reminder that this is a live show in the morning, getting to know all these new coaches, new staff members, get to know these recruits. But I do want to remind you that throughout the course of the day, just stay in touch with the Oregon football social media. I feel like that's important. Marshall, I'm Joey Mack.
Joey, what's up, man?
Good to meet you.
Yeah.
So you're the chief of staff.
Yep.
I think most people would associate the chief of staff with like the president's chief of staff, but it's become a more common term used in college football. So before I ask you for your life story, I want to ask, what's the day-to-day for you right now as the chief of staff? What are you doing every day?
That's a great question. Sometimes I wonder myself. No, we've been, I'm sure a common theme that you've heard. I haven't totally been listening, just kind of getting papers in and trying to stay organized. But, yeah, I mean, I would say that day-to-day right now, because January is such a heavy recruiting month, it's planes, trains, and automobiles, keeping these coaches organized on the road. I'm kind of the man behind the scenes.
The team behind the team.
Yeah. I don't know about that, but yeah, basically just staying organized, helping with interviews, helping with getting people in here. Matt Neuer's been awesome. We already have a great team, off the field people, but I think more than anything, just trying to help these coaches be able to coach, and recruit. Like I would say that's kind of my job. Allow those guys to do what they do best and give them ammo, to do that. So, anything in recruiting I can do where they can just focus on, recruiting and coaching, that's what I think my job is, to equip them and prepare them to do what they do best.
You are and I'll say this, and I think that you would agree, a heralded and respected player personnel guy around college football. That's why a lot of Duck fans, and I'll say this too, were really excited when they saw your name pop up for Coach Lanning's staff. So tell us a little bit about that as part of your 2-minute life story. How'd you get to where you are, and why do you have such a passion for this?
Yeah, well, I'm from Augusta, Georgia. 2-minute life story. So I'm from Augusta, Georgia. That doesn't mean that you're good at golf, unfortunately. So from Augusta, I went to the University of Alabama. I was a 3-sport athlete in high school. Unfortunately, when you're slow and small, it just doesn't work out for you at a place like Alabama. So I went to school there, and my first semester, I was just lost without sports, baseball, basketball, and football. So I just bugged people in the athletic department to break in. So I ended up working for 4 years at Alabama as a student for a guy named Ed Manowitz, who's been a great mentor for me. And he was the director of player personnel at Alabama, and he kind of got this thing started in college football. And me and a couple other guys were blessed enough to work for him for 4 years. And, we've been all over the place in college football now. And then from Alabama, I went to Boise State with Chris Peterson. Then I went to Louisville with Charlie Strong. And then from Louisville, I went back with Chris Peterson. We won't talk about the school I was at, but we'll just say I was back with Chris Peterson.
He's a Duck.
Former Duck.
That's right.
Former Duck. So back with Chris Peterson, and then got married to my beautiful wife in Washington, and then went to Georgia. Was at Georgia for 4 years under Kirby Smart, so built that relationship with him while I was at Alabama. We were really, really close. I interned for him while I was at Alabama. Was the head of recruiting at Washington, then Georgia for 4 years. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I took some stairs.
That's all right.
I haven't been exercising very much, so this mass thing. So anyway, was at Georgia for 4 years, and then went to Texas A&M to be, I can't remember what my title was, but basically head of recruiting at Texas A&M. And then, Coach Lanning's a guy that I care so much about. Like a lot of us on staff, we've seen this guy, and we know how special of a person he is. And whenever you have guys like Coach Lanning, you just want to work with them. And I think a lot of these people that are on our staff now have turned down better opportunities because they want to work for a guy that's an unbelievable coach, but more importantly, like an unbelievable person. And so he's a guy that I want to lay it on the line for. Whenever he asked me to be on staff, I couldn't have been more excited. And I just told my family, look, we're going back out to the West Coast. And they're excited. They're getting on board. They're coming back here right after signing day, moving into an Airbnb, and then we're going to hit the ground running and try to find a house.
Hey, well, good luck.
Thank you.
That was perfect. I think you hit like 204.
Oof. A little over time.
That's pretty good though. I mean, I always joke that we do that because I can sit here and everybody can sit here and read your bio, but what you think is important, right, kind of comes out in the 2-minute life story. And so that's why I asked that question. Player personnel, I want to go back in time if I could and ask a follow-up. Like, the way that has evolved in college football, like summarize for fans what you're talking about with that taking off as you were talking with Don, like you guys kind of are the general managers of a college football team.
Yeah. Well, Coach Lanning still runs the show. I won't pretend that's me. But one thing that I've learned, I've worked for some great head coaches, right? Chris Peterson, Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher, Kirby Smart. Mel Tucker was a DC, Sam Pittman. So I've been around all these guys, and when you're in recruiting in this role, like the head coach leans on you a ton. And so working for those head coaches, I think I can bring a lot of experience. I know that's not really what you asked, but I can bring a lot of experience to Coach Lanning, and I really feel like my evaluation skills have really grown. So I'm also been the NFL liaison for 10 years. So I'm meeting with every general manager, scout that comes into the building, and I'm always asking for their evaluation sheets.
Sure.
So we can mirror it with college. Obviously, in college, you're trying to fight for 32 first-round picks. Like you can compete for that. In the NFL, you only get one. You only get one first-round pick, and then you get seven total picks, give or take. And so for us, like, I really think you can make more of an impact in college because you can compete for picks. And I think that I can help our coaches. My job, I see it as putting the ball on the tee for the coach and loading them with ammo to go out and sign the best players. And we always say in recruiting, I think you're going to hear all us say this a million times from Coach Lanning, but everything matters in recruiting. So it's 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. Now, certain ones are bigger than the others, right? Like head coaching phone calls or, facilities or winning football games. But I've seen 7 and 6 teams sign the #1 class. So you can't just say, hey, if we win, we'll sign great classes. If we do this, we'll sign great classes. It's everything. And so one thing that I think is helping Coach Lanning be prepared, helping this coaching staff be prepared and organized so they can just focus on ball and recruiting.
Ball and recruiting is a lot, though.
Yeah. A lot that goes into it. Yeah.
So I'm curious, too, like, just talking about how you guys have attacked it this year, right? So since you got the job and you come in, you hit the ground running, just take fans back through the process of how you built out this class, built out the roster.
Yeah. I mean, how much time do we have?
Floor is yours, sir.
No, it's been great. Like, not a lot of sleep. I can't wait to get my family out here. I really can. I got 2 kids and married. But if they were here right now, then, I guess I would lay down for 4 hours. I mean, I think every assistant could echo that. We've been working really hard. And the first thing that you have to do is kind of assess your roster and know what you need. And one thing, credit to the last staff, they've done a really good job of having a good roster. So one of the biggest things for Coach Lanning was connecting with our current roster and current players to make sure, obviously, the portal's a new thing, and to let them know who we are and what we're all about, and not necessarily recruit them, but build relationships. And so it's a big thing for Coach Lanning, and we talked about it a lot, is, hey, we got to build relationships with these guys first, and we got to figure out what we have on our team first to assess the needs of what we need to go out and get. And so I think the big thing is, the transfer portal. You can't turn a blind eye to the portal, but we feel like the University of Oregon, we can sign great high school players. There's certain places where you need to dip into the portal more because it's a big advantage, and you can't sign great high school players at certain universities. But we feel like at this place, we can sign the best in the country. We can sign who we want. But we can't say, there's certain needs and certain guys we don't want to put in position to force them to play their freshman year because we have a need. And so that, to me, is where you dip into the portal. And so you don't want to live in the portal, but you also have to use it to your advantage. So we try to keep our guys out of the portal. We try to dip into the portal to assess needs and really try. There's probably 10% of the class left after the first signing day, meaning like in the country, 90% of the great players are gone.
Right.
So we're working on 10% of the players. So, hopefully we'll continue to build, and hopefully this is one of the few classes that doesn't meet maybe Duck standards, but at the same time, we were close to our 85 without giving up too much. We couldn't sign a lot of players, and the one thing we wanted to do is not take a guy that we didn't think fit. And so for us, it was like, hey, look, guys, we're competing, and if we think a guy can play here, let's go get them. But let's not just go get them because another team offers them.
Right.
Let's evaluate. Let's hurry. But then let's end up making the decision at the end whether we want them or not. So, obviously there's a lot that goes into all that. I feel like every single day I'm here, I learned something else incredible about the University of Oregon.
Sure. And
so, every single day I get here, I'm like, what? Why did I not know that before? But there's just so many things that you learn at a place like this that's really special. And I feel like the last staff built, and I think that we can take it to the next level.
One of the things that's happened over the last few weeks, and we've been introducing people to them on our broadcast, is the staff has rounded out, yourself included. Tell us about the support staff and just how important is it? Because I say the team behind the team because, trust me, I really know that there's always the team behind the team that makes things go. Tell us about your staff.
Totally. I mean, first of all, been amazed with the people that were here before. Don is unbelievable, done a great job. I mean, the kids love him, players on our team, recruits. An elite relationship builder, right instantly, he can always hold a conversation. And there's some guys that you have to carry the conversations, and Don's very versatile, and so he can relate to just about anybody in the country. We have a guy named J.R. Mawala. He's probably the most humble guy I've ever been around. Really hardworking, great family man, has great relationships, and is really grinded. I would say Cody's more operations. Cody, look, we're stoked to have her still. Cassidy Neuer, stoked to have her, and you're just kind of realizing the skill sets of the people that you have. So then you can talk about the people that you need. And we brought a guy in from Tyler Dean that was with me at Texas A&M. Unbelievable worker, organized, diligent, hardworking, kind of knows what I like and
sure.
what those type of things. And we brought Trent Figg in recently, who's tied in with Coach Lanning. He's going to be special and is special, and we're lucky. We're extremely lucky to have him. Yep, we got Ryan Brosnan, and then we have a ton of guys like Kobe and Alex. These are guys that are really behind the scenes, doing a lot of leg work. Zach, a former student here, a bunch of Oregon alum, trying to make sure I don't forget anybody. Josh Heim, Steve Pohl, the videos that we put out. I don't know if y'all follow us on social media, but all these videos and social media content, I mean, that stuff moves the needle more than anything. And so they're able to, those guys were working. Josh Heim had to wake up off the couch this morning. Yeah, right behind me. I had to wake off the couch this morning at 4:30 a.m. because he pulled an all-nighter trying to get some of this content together. I know Steve Pohl and the photographers that we've had, are elite. We're getting content where Coach Lanning can meet with these guys and show the video that they shot the night before.
Right.
And the work ethic and what everybody's put in to making sure, one, we're building there's 3 different people that we're really trying to build relationships with. We're trying to close out the 22 class. You have to build relationships with your current team. You build relationships with your staff. But then we're 6 months behind on 23 recruiting as a staff. And so we're trying to get, we had 65 kids here. Coach Lanning's doing 32 meetings on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, with juniors and sophomores, and you just can't be behind. And so one of the things that we're trying to do is build relationships fast, and those things don't happen overnight. You got to build it over time. And so the more we can be organized about building our relationships, that's where I think our staff can help.
Well, I love asking you that question, and the fact that you just so passionately talked about all of that, because I think fans see what happens on the field. Fans see the coaches, but there's so much more that goes into it that leads to success. So I love that you were able to do that.
No.
So I'm glad that we had the opportunity.
I want to give a big one more shout out to Rhonda, our travel agent. Elite. She's an absolute weapon for us. We had her up till midnight every night. She was waking up with us at 5 a.m. We had coaches lose their keys to rental cars, and she was shipping them everywhere. I'm sure we're trying to she's great. She's elite. That's all I'll say.
Well, I can speak to that because I've been one of those people that's had to be like, Rhonda, get me out of here.
Right.
I've been one of those people. So, well, Marshall, I could keep you for an hour. I'm telling you, and talk with you. So we'll have to do this again. But for real, thank you for doing this.
No, shoot, I couldn't be more excited to be here, and this is awesome. Appreciate everything y'all do.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got a busy day because goducks.com/signing day, that's your hub for all the signees. That's your hub for all the events that are coming up. We've still got some things in store. Stay in touch on the Oregon social media. What else should fans know? Anything? You're the last guest today. You're closing up shop.
I just think that the Ducks fans should know is we're tirelessly working to make sure there's a product on the field that everybody can be proud of, both on and off the field. And just, I know Coach Lanning, everybody doesn't necessarily know his story, but I think this staff is really passionate about how great this head coach is, and the Oregon administration got it right. This is a special person. This is an unbelievable football coach, and is the right guy for this job.
Go Ducks.
Go Ducks, baby.
I love that. Marshall Malchow, kind enough to join us. Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much.
Chief of Staff for the Ducks, and we're glad to have him. So I know that we didn't get to as many of your comments and questions as I hoped to, but we will do that, I promise, over the course of this entire day. So this has been the Signing Day special. Our friends at McDonald's, I want to say thanks again for bringing us the breakfast this morning. Buy one, get one for $1 at McDonald's. Your locally owned McDonald's are bringing you this show. The entire staff, that was pretty cool, right? We got a chance to hear from the entire coaching staff over the last 2+ hours, including Dan Lanning. Those of you who are now headed over to the Twitter Spaces to talk about all of the different recruits, shout out to our fans who have been able to interact and get to know everybody. And that it's such a cool thing for me sitting here as a broadcaster to watch all of that happen. It's been really, really cool to see that from Coach Lanning. Thanks to everybody for joining us. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. A special shout out from me goes to Steve Pohl, Scott LeBounty, Nate Kruger, Matt Neuer, Scott Phillips, Jordan Brenner, our entire production team, Kip Ambrose for hooking us up with breakfast this morning. My thanks to everybody for making this possible. I'm Joey Mack. Fans, we've got Duck Insider for you coming up later on today. Dan Lanning's press conference, it's scheduled for 11 a.m. We will have his entire press conference for you on Duck Insider at 1 o'clock today. This has been the Signing Day special presented by McDonald's.